Hey, Rick, is that a crucifix you've got on your chest?
Hi, everybody.
This? No.
Are you talking about his
Here?
wings?
No, it's just a bit small from where
Wings?
I was. I couldn't quite tell what it was. Oh, it's wings. Okay.
My aircraft mechanic
Propellered
wings.
wings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like propellered wings.
Will you have one of those soon?
Yep, I have a. Yeah, he will. Absolutely.
Hi, everybody in the chat room.
It's a flying spanner. Is that what it's supposed to be?
Oh, just,
Like propeller and wings.
propeller
A flying
and wings. Yeah.
Well, that's
Flying
just
prop.
like an airplane then.
Yep. It's a
have any
prop
words?
powered set of wings.
And we're live. Hi, Aaron.
We are live. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, Jeff sounds echoey to me.
There you go.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I know why. Anytime we've done Skype or stream or what's it called? The other thing that clean feed, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And after we've done the test and I sound echoey to you, that's the reason for that is because I haven't
Haven't you
unmuted.
muted
I mean,
yourself?
I haven't muted myself in that.
Understand.
Okay.
Aha.
So that should be working now for you, Liz, right?
It's all good. Thank you.
So this
Hi, Robert.
this
Hi,
is
Neil.
my favorite first officer over here, Brent.
Oh, Lord.
And
And the whole show is
Poor
going to be
Brent.
Brent telling us all about what it's really like to fly with Jeff.
we don't have time
Yeah.
for
That's
that.
going to be very, 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 very short then, isn't it?
The behind the scenes.
Let's see the money changing hands there, Jeff.
Yeah, I got the money over there.
Just say I wanted Jeff muted. I can take care of that for you real quick here.
Yeah, he can. He can.
Good man.
This
And
is
then-
this is a mighty tight cockpit here, Jeff.
It is, and we're not sitting in the right. You're the captain today. I'm your first officer.
Is it making you nervous?
Oh me. oh,
Yeah, well,
my.
you know, he'll be captain soon enough.
Feel like you're in a 737?
Yeah, with my big broad shoulders.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
Just
anyway.
a general comment. I'm not going to mention the new dog because we've got a 2-week sort of agreement where they can
okay.
have
You're on
her
probation?
back. Yeah, 2-week probation. So we won't say anything
We won't.
until that's over, please.
All right. Got it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Roger that. What dog?
What
Yeah.
dog? What dog?
What dog? All right. Tanya says, hi, Brent. Have you met Tanya? You've met Tanya, right?
Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya in New York.
Oh, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Well, no, not Buffalo. That was
New York.
Tiffany.
That was Tiffany. Tanya, have you met Brent in person? I don't know if we had a. I don't know if Brent was with me on any of those.
Usually in Jersey, right? Because you're
what- yeah, the
you're free
Jersey
to fly
City.
into New York.
Yeah, we went to that Chinese place.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that- okay.
Yeah, that's Tanya.
Well, hi, Tanya.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, he's kind of doing this against his will. I said, you're going to be on the show with me today.
Yeah, he doesn't get another sector unless
He's
you
not
pitch
If
really
up
you want
on the
any
show.
landings, you will sit here by my side for the next 4 hours.
That won't do any
It's called
good.
coercion.
He could care less
He
about
could
that.
care less about that. It's got to be something else.
It's such a
to
nice
motivate him.
tropical day here in Jackson, Mississippi. There's
Oh,
nothing
Be
else
out
to
and
do.
about
so-
and enjoying himself.
Yeah. You could be out there walking around in the lovely weather here. Yeah, we get to talk about lovely weather in the getting to know us section of the fun time we had today in Des Moines.
Oh, I've already forgot about that.
Oh,
Was
sorry
it
to
snowy?
remind you.
Was it snowing?
Yeah, it had been snowing like all night.
Yeah, it's
And
snowing
It
here.
wasn't like heavy snow.
it's snowing.
We'll explain. It was a mess.
Yeah, I was watching you. I could see you were getting
Yeah,
off
it's
on time.
because these idiots that they're well, there were idiots all around, but especially that.
Especially
Is
the
it Silver
right seat.
Wings? I'm
Biggest
allowed to
idiot
say
was in the
Silver
right seat
Wings.
this morning, right?
It was a ATR 42 had Amazon Prime written all over it. And I'm serious. I'm not joking.
No, yeah, that's who the hell flies that? That is Silver.
But that's not you guys, right?
no, that's Silver Wings.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
well, those Silver Wings guys really sharp.
Yeah.
Not.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. If we're live here, aren't we? So if you happen to be flying for that fine outfit, I'm sure it wasn't you, and we're not saying everybody's clueless like these people were.
So everybody, there's Nick with his non-existent new dog.
Oh, okay.
That is a hologram. A hologram.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Aw.
Very,
She looks
very
tired.
lifelike, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Very. Okay, so we've
we
done the
almost
test. So how are
ready?
the microphone levels? Anybody wondering? Hey, Mohammed. Mohammed right here. He's an air traffic controller in Baghdad.
And he's
What
a
time
good
is it over there?
And he's a good dancer.
Oh, yeah, he's a great dancer.
Did you read the horrible story that he went through? Was that today?
Yeah.
I think
Look at his
it was
first few posts. They've had a very interesting day.
Scroll up, Jeff.
Yeah, I am. I just didn't have a chance to
Oh,
do
no,
a
you
lot
were
of
busy.
reading. Wow. Yeah, not a good day at the Baghdad International Airport.
I suppose by comparison to some of the other days you've had there, though, that's not a bad
Yeah.
day. But
So, who wants to chime in as far as how our levels are before we get going?
Mike Kuipers, how's
Probably.
everybody sounding?
That was,
Nick is
that was-
perfect.
That was
that
Nick.
was
great.
Nick was testing there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sure. you are.
My spaghetti bolognese getting its revenge on me.
Yeah, Nick's at
And-
home with the two non-existing dogs by himself tonight. So he's,
Are you in
Yeah,
a tunnel?
all of me.
Are you in a tunnel,
what-
Nick?
Yeah, where
I am tonight. That was just one of the most memorable bits of the drive from Newark to, well, actually, all
The only
JFK,
part you remember?
Oh, yeah.
to central Manhattan.
Jeff, Mike Kuiper says everybody's sounding good.
Wow.
Excellent.
Nailed
Doesn't
it.
happen
Somebody
very
will probably
often.
be able to identify that tunnel.
iHall says the whole show is a pretty low level. I think he's talking about the quality, which we can
Yeah, we're not talking. We're not talking quality. We're talking
Do you,
volume.
I've got a spanner. Do you want me to
Or are
kick
we
him?
talking tunnel under a river?
Oh man.
Everyone
Oh.
sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, and just heads up. Feedback 11. I'm thinking I'm going to skip that one. That just doesn't do anything for me at all.
Okay. Yeah, I wondered about that one when I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
that's
wasn't
fine.
really that interesting to me.
Nope. Okay, that's cool.
Are we
Maybe it
doing
does.
Are we doing news 1B just so Jeff can push his little button?
Oh yeah,
With
that's
purpose?
the reason I chose it.
That's the reason why she chose it. Seriously. Yeah. Here, I got to get it ready.
Srivijaya.
Okay.
Jaya.
Um,
Jaya.
So let me see. We got Rick and Captain Nick. We have
Macho Man Nick.
Macho Nick. Hang on, we'll put him here.
Steffi's working to support all the rest of us. So
Yeah,
Right.
There you go. Yeah,
for the beer money.
exactly.
And so what? So, okay, what do I say about you? Just
Oh,
former Air Force
look.
pilot and
saw.
Acme pilot for the last how many years?
23.
23. Wow.
23, wow.
And my favorite co-pilot, Brent
Very nice.
Heron.
Very nice.
Okay.
He does exist.
Yeah, I mean, people. Well, no, they saw you in the picture and the audio feedback, right? You know, they see you here every now and then. You're a real.
He popped up. He popped up recently when you made him eat some sort of non-barbecue cuisine.
that's
right?
right. Some fish or something.
Yeah, that,
some
boathouse.
seafood.
What was he on?
Right.
Celebrity
Oh, yeah, that's
Get
right.
Me
In
Out of Here or
Chattanooga?
something.
Well,
Yeah, that was his cockpit. Get me out of here.
yeah.
Get me out of here.
Okay. So we got that. So I'm going to move that over like that, and we're going to get the soundboard ready. And let me do a sound check on Radio Roger.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side.
Oh, it's
Too
okay.
loud?
No.
Really? Sounded really loud to me. How did it sound to you, Brent?
It was loud.
Pretty loud, yeah. Okay, but as long as it sounds good to them, we can.
Yeah, we don't care about you two.
I know you guys don't. Okay.
Now, who can identify this tunnel? I still want to know which tunnel it is, but I don't know.
The Holland Tunnel. Or the.
No, I think
Make
it's the one that goes
yourself-
from Secaucus over to Manhattan, but I forget what the name of the tunnel is because we used to stay on the New Jersey side of things for a little while there when I used to fly to JFK a lot. but,
Tanya, do you know that tunnel?
Yeah, Tanya, take a look there. I've soloed Nick's
Some local
video so you can
knowledge?
see.
Although I
There
don't
you
think
go,
Tanya
that's,
drives. Does Tanya drive?
That's from the crew van on our way to the hotel, the New Yorker.
Oh, so you're coming from JFK? You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Ah, it's on that side.
Oh,
That's
so
the
it's not
East River.
It's not. Yeah,
The
it's not the
Lincoln.
one I
That's
think.
the
then.
Lincoln Tunnel then. Lincoln.
Oh,
think so?
Could Yeah, rings a bell. Lincoln Tunnel? No, perhaps not. Perhaps the Washington or the Jefferson Tunnel. I don't know. Or the Hamilton Tunnel.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think
But
of
isn't
any
the
other
Holland Tunnel
prominent
from New
American
Jersey?
politicians. Trump Tunnel.
Trump Tunnel, Biden Tunnel.
The Biden tunnel leads nowhere, so it's definitely not that one.
Well, the Trump Tunnel's underwater, so.
That's enough.
Okay. No politics. No politics.
So we almost ready to go here, Jeff?
Almost, Liz. Leave me alone.
Snarky today.
Snarky. Why is it so high over there? Okay. Just need to make a little tweak here so we don't have blown out audio in.
Okay.
Unlike my my TDPU audio, talk about blown out. Dreadful.
Well, you guys sounded like you had a little bit to drink.
Yeah, we were over modulating slightly.
Overserved.
Yes, we were.
All right. Let's see. That's
We had overconsumed
Well,
and
I
were
think that
over
was the point of the
modulating.
whole event, wasn't it? Really?
Yes, it was right.
Should be recording. No.
No point going there and staying sober.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
No place for teetotalers.
Okay. Test. Check.
Yep.
Check.
Yep. Both
Oh,
live.
I'm not getting it on. Oh, I'm glad I did that.
God, you're good, Jeff.
And I'm ready with my recorder when you are, Captain.
Great. You can start recording anytime you like, sir.
I am recording.
And I need to duplicate this track. Uh-oh. And I need to make this.
Those were the days.
Oh, no. I haven't heard that in a while.
Oh, yeah. Nev's clackerboards. Clapperboards.
Nev's clackers, yes.
Hi, puppy. Yeah. I know you're hungry. Wait for a minute.
Almost there. That should be okay. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, everybody. This is just a new setup because of the other microphone. I don't do this very often.
Oh, my heating just came on for the first time.
Really?
What's that?
Okay, I'll bring this down to 50. What's the temperature up there, Liz?
Outside, it's 1 Celsius and snowing. Oh, snowing quite hard.
Okay. I think we might be ready.
Okay.
So let me stop this and start from the beginning. Boom, stop. Delete selected. No file selected.
Oh, there's Rugger. There's Rugger.
Okay.
Hi, Rugger.
Oh, look.
What a face.
Okay, there we go. All right, I think we're ready. Boom and boom. Okay. I think we'd be ready.
Okay. Hit it.
Hit it. Radio Roger, hit it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 545.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 2B at the Westin in Jackson, Mississippi. Today's show is recorded on the 15th of November, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
today's episode, 2 World War II planes collide in front of horrified spectators at a Dallas air show. A stray bullet strikes a flight landing in Beirut. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 545 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds, on 93 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia.
Jingles doesn't care.
All right, and joining us from his studio in the Valley of the Sun, world traveler, airplane mechanic, doggy rescue volunteer, fitness hound, and international air freight captain. It's Miami Nick. No.
Who's Miami Nick? Miami Rick. Hey,
I love it. I love it.
What's in the letter?
More Nicks.
Carry on.
Oh, I could have played off of that just fine. Come on.
Sorry.
I would have.
It's too late now.
I know. It's like, wait, we're
was just-
flying Airbuses.
We just have a few rehearsals to do this, a few takes. All right, let's see. Where do I start? Did you like my Shingles doesn't care?
Jingles doesn't care.
That was nice.
All right, I'm gonna start off with Miami Rick and from his studio in the Valley of the Sun, world traveler, airplane mechanic, doggy rescue volunteer, fitness hound, and international air freight captain, it's Miami Rick.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be back. We got a good show. Lots to talk about, so we better get to it.
Yeah, you're right. And also joining us from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, a retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways, it's Captain Nick.
Well, hi there, everybody. What a fantastic collection of minds as sharp as steel tonight. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, wow. I don't know what he's looking at. Okay. And he's obviously been drinking from his home studio in the air capital. Low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Macho Camacho.
Hey guys, glad to be back with you again. Looking forward to it.
All right. And also, we have sitting next to me, live in the studio at the Westin Hotel in, where are we?
Jackson,
We're in
Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi. This is former Air Force pilot and Acme pilot for about 23 years, and he's also Brent, my favorite co-pilot.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here with y'all. Nice to meet Liz and Captain Nick and Rick and see Nick Macho again.
All right. And
Yeah, good to see you.
last, but certainly not least, from a place to stand and a place to grow, Toronto, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer. It's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Today it's a place with snow.
Oh, it's a place for snow.
Oh, right.
All
Well,
right.
you do live in Canada. I'm surprised it ever
Yeah.
isn't with snow.
Yeah,
It's
the
a
Great
place
White
for
North.
de-icing operations, so I like
It's always
that.
nice for the first 3 months or so. About March, it gets a little old. But
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
have a good one, you guys.
Thanks, Liz.
Cheers.
Yep.
All right, let's hit the news.
Roch.
Stand by for news.
All right, in Dallas, Texas, a tragedy. 2 World War II era airplanes collided and crashed while performing a flyover at a commemorative event in Texas on Saturday. The Federal Aviation Administration said in a statement, 6 people were on board the 2 planes at the time of the crash, the commemorative Air Force said. A Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress and a Bell P-63 King Cobra were participating in the Air Force's Wings Over Dallas air show when they collided midair near the Dallas Executive Airport just before 1:30 p.m. local time. According to the event's website, several planes were scheduled to do a flyover demonstration Saturday afternoon. Social media posts showed hundreds of people gathered to watch the flyover. The 3-day event is in honor of Veterans Day, which was Friday. Here's a quote from somebody named Montoya, 27 years old, who attended the air show with a friend. I just stood there. I was in complete shock and disbelief. Everybody around was gasping. Everybody was bursting into tears. Everybody was in shock. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson called it a terrible tragedy. The videos are heartbreaking, he tweeted. Please say a prayer for the souls who took to the sky to entertain and educate our families today. Officials would not say how many people were on board the planes, but Hank Coates, president of the company that put on the air show, said a B-17 Flying Fortress bomber typically has a crew of 4 to 5 people, while a P-63 King Cobra fighter plane has a single pilot. The B-17, an immense 4-engine bomber, was a cornerstone of U.S. air power during World War II. The King Cobra, a U.S. fighter plane, was used mostly by Soviet forces during the war. Most B-17s were scrapped at the end of World War II, and only a handful remain today, largely featured at museums and air shows, according to Boeing. There were no paying passengers on the aircraft, unlike that horrible tragedy. What was that, last year or the year before in Connecticut?
That was 2019.
2019, three years ago.
The 909, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was one of those flights where they had people paying to ride on the airplane, and in this case, it was just the folks that are, involved in this passion of flying World War II aircraft. And we do, by the way, this article from which I'm reading, was a few days back. At the time, they didn't want to release the names of the people that died in the crash because they wanted to make sure that all the families were notified. And but they have now released the names, and I believe there were 5 on the B-17 and 1 on the in the P-63. And I'm trying to scroll down here to get to the names. Here we go. On the B-17, it was Terry Barker from Keller, Texas, Kevin K5 Michaels, Austin, Texas, Dan Reagan from Dallas, Leonard Len Root, Fort Worth, Texas, and Kurt Rowe, Hilliard, Ohio. And then the pilot flying the P-63 King Cobra from Montgomery, Texas, Craig Hutain. And we're showing the video. On the video, we're showing a couple of pictures of 2 of the. I think they were both the pilots, Barker and Root, and they were formerly American Airlines airline pilots, and both retired. And so immediately when I see something like this, Nick Camacho, I think of you because you are involved in this kind of thing. And in fact, I don't know, was Betsy's Biscuit Bomber was it there, or was she somewhere else? Okay.
Nope, they were out in California performing. This was this event was kind of the homecoming and year-end air show for Commemorative Air Force, and for people that aren't familiar with them, or maybe people on the other side of the world, Commemorative Air Force is basically the largest organization, largest flying warbird organization, I assume, in the world. In the States, it's definitely a giant, and it's basically something that was built up from a couple of farmers back in the 50s or 60s buying a Mustang, and then continued to grow it and grow it, and now it's a huge organization with chapters, dozens of chapters all over the country, and airplanes that they operate and they're restoring that number probably in the I don't even know how many are airworthy, but they've got dozens of airplanes as well as the dozens of their chapters. So they do a really good job of kind of keeping the history alive and continuing to share the story. And they go beyond just flying the airplanes. If anybody's familiar with like the Red Tail Mustang, that's a significant effort that the Commemorative Air Force has done, where they have not just restored an airplane for a specific purpose. In that case, it's to kind of spotlight the impact of black aviators, the struggle they had, and the impact they had on the outcome of World War II. But they turned that into like a whole entire learning experience. So now they have, basically this whole unit that moves with the airplane. The airplane will go fly at air shows, and they also have a mobile movie theater where they show a documentary they put together. So it's really an impressive organization, and they do a lot of great things beyond just restoring and flying airplanes, which they're also good at. And like I said, this was their kind of year-end homecoming show. I think they're based there at Dallas Executive. Just a terribly unfortunate thing.
I was surprised in the guy that's head of the, I don't know if he's the head of the Commemorative Air Force in whole or just the local chapter there, but he said that we're like close to 800 airplanes in the Commemorative Air Force. Can that be right? That seems like a huge number of airplanes, but
that seems high, but it could.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll have a link to the video, the news brief video, where he talks a little bit about the organization and what they do. And did you happen to know any? I know there's so many people involved in this kind of flying, Nick. Did you know any of the people involved in this?
I had actually just last year at Oshkosh, I had briefly met Craig Hutane, the pilot of the P-63. He and Sherman Smoot flew together at Continental before Continental and United merged. And so they were good buddies. And, we had the C-47 out at Oshkosh last year. And Craig, in addition to flying the P-63, also has a T-6 that's painted up as a P-64, which is basically like a militarized version of a T-6, and participates in the Tora 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 demonstrations. So he was out there last year with his T-6, flying in the Tora Tora demonstrations, and then doing an aerobatic routine in the T-6. So
yeah, I watched that video that somebody interviewed him at Oshkosh, and he talks a little bit about that and the fact that his dad, I think, was a World War II pilot, and also was involved in this historical kind of flying as well, and got him into it. And as you said, he's also an airline pilot, and he was within a couple of years, I think, of retiring. So I think he's like a year or so behind me. Yeah. So, wow, just so sad.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else wants to add? They're kind of, there are a lot of videos out there, including Blanco Lirio's, and they're doing a fine job of kind of explaining, the different kind of patterns that the bombers and the fighters fly, and the parade route, or whatever they call it, and how that's all supposed to take place, and possible reasons for why this particular fighter collided with the B-17, because I guess it's notoriously bad visibility out the front and out front and below, the big blind spot in the thing. And anyway, so there's a lot of good stuff out there already, and of course there's a lot of trash as well. People making wild speculation that have no idea what they're talking about. But if you look hard enough, you'll find the good stuff. And I'm certainly not going to speculate, because I don't know anything about this type of flying and these warbirds and stuff. So anything else?
Yeah, I do.
I'm right there with you. Mm-hmm.
The only thing I was going to add, Jeff, is that the safety record for this type of flying has been pretty impressive. Apparently, the NTSB said that investigated 21 accidents in the last 40 years involving World War II era bombers. So this is not a common occurrence, and their safety record is excellent, despite the fact they're flying really old aircraft in a very dynamic situation, as you see in air shows. So a tribute to all the people who put so much time and effort into this flying. Accidents in aviation, I hate to say it, are almost inevitable. When they happen in the public eye like this, they sometimes get blown completely out of proportion. But I just want to say that I have the utmost respect for everyone involved in this type of flying, and particularly for those who've lost their lives in this dreadful incident.
Yeah, and precisely because of that respect, I think it's best that we leave it up to the professionals to come up with the reason why this unfortunate accident happened. And so I'm right there with you, Nick and Jeff and Nick, that let's see what the NTSB comes up with and go from there. However, just my heart goes out to them and their families, clearly, because it's a loss that you can't get over. So, and just rest in peace, fellas.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I had a couple of quick things kind of related to what Nick was mentioning. Every time this happens, it seems like in this case, I saw a lot of comments like, oh, they just got lucky where it happened because nobody on the ground was hurt, or making comments like it could have been worse, and it could have, and I think it probably always can get worse. But I think it's also important to note that airshow flying and FAA waiver flying and all of that stuff that occurs at air shows, everything is designed to minimize risk to people on the ground and all of that sort of thing. So it kind of irks me a little bit when people say, oh yeah, they got lucky, or they're just fortunate that it didn't happen somewhere else. And I'm not saying that it couldn't have happened in those other places, but a lot of times these flying displays are designed to minimize that risk, and they're designed to, if something bad happens, have this sort of outcome where they have as minimum impact to people and structures on the ground as possible. So that's a little frustrating to me. And then the other thing is just kind of going back on what all of you guys have said. There's so many people that are loudly outspoken, either on social media or in just chat groups or whatever, about believing that they already knew what happened. And, there's a lot of people that either that know people that do this kind of flying, or that do this kind of flying on their own, and have a pretty good idea of what may have occurred to cause this. But even the people that were there involved in this show, that attended the briefing, that understood all of the different separation rules that they had in place, even when they have all that information, they still don't know what caused those two airplanes to be in the place that they were in. So it frustrates me when you get somebody who says, jumps on Facebook or Twitter or wherever and says, well, clearly I flew in an air show in my such and such 30 years ago, and here's how we handled this, and because of that, this guy's in the wrong. And I don't know, I assume it's just because there are so many different videos and views of this incident, but it seems like that has been magnified with this crash. I don't know if that's true or not, but it just kind of feels that way.
Yeah, and then as far as it could have been worse part, it doesn't get any worse for those poor souls that are no longer with us, and for those gentlemen's families. So it's bad. So it's just like I was saying earlier, and I'm 100% with you, Nick. If, out of respect, it's best that we just leave it up to the professionals, and just go from there, I think. And it's interesting, and it never ceases to amaze me how this is an aspect of flying that I have no experience on, and I have no idea. And it's so good to have you, Nick, to give us your behind the scenes and your experience with this kind of flying, and just lucky to have you here with your input.
Yeah. All right, we all feel that way. Thank you. Anything else to add, Nick Camacho, before we continue? All right.
I don't think so. I think we all hit it pretty well.
Okay, good. And, of course, we'll be covering any updates to this as information is released by the NTSB. All right, let's continue with the next item in our feedback, or our news notebook. This is the final report on a crash of a
Sriwijaya.
737-500 at Jakarta on the 9th of January 2021. It lost height and impacted the Java Sea. On November 10th, 2022, the KNKT, and then in parentheses NTSC, released their final report, concluding the probable causes of the crash were... Okay, I need to stop here for a moment. This, I don't know how many pages long this was originally, Liz, but... I mean, I tried to read through most of it, and I am definitely not going to
I
read
think you should
this
try to read
word
through
for
all of it
word.
again.
Yeah, because it's well, we're going to have to extend it another couple hours, I think.
We'll be here till next week.
Yeah. They go into a lot of detail, things that to me didn't seem to make any difference. But anyway, bottom line is, I guess I should start from the top and see if we can make some sense of this.
It's funny you say that, because when I first saw this, I kind of did the same thing as you. I read the first paragraph, and then I scrolled down looking for like the highlighted or bold part that says like probable cause or outcome. It never got there.
No, you don't. They don't structure it that way, and sadly, yeah, we need bullet points here. Probable causes of the crash were the corrective maintenance processes of the auto throttle problem were unable to identify the friction or binding within the mechanical system of the thrust lever, and resulted the prolonged and unresolved of the auto throttle problem. Now, this is written by Indonesian language folks, so this is the English translation, so it's not always going to be perfect, obviously. You didn't do the translation, Liz? Oh man, I was going to be very impressed with you if you had, because I didn't even know you knew the language. Okay, okay. The right. So basically, in a nutshell, this airplane takes off 737. It's night. They're climbing out over the Java Sea. They're avoiding some thunderstorm activity. They have the autopilot engaged, auto thrust system engaged as well. They're using the various modes, lateral modes of the autopilot system to fly the airplane around these thunderstorms. And what's happening when they're switching to various modes, vertical modes, the auto throttle system is, doing what it's supposed to do. When you go, like, say, switch from a managed mode of climb thrust to a vertical speed mode, so the auto throttle system essentially tries to maintain that selected speed in the vertical speed mode, and all the while on a Boeing and airplane like Brent and I fly, basically a DC-9, the auto throttle systems in these airplanes actually move the throttle levers, unlike an Airbus. So we have a mechanical component to this system, and depending on how old or new whether it's a FADEC controlled kind of a system or not, like for instance the 88, the Mad Dog that Brent and I flew, it was actually, there were cables connected from the throttle levers all the way back to the fuel control units way back in the back of the airplane, next to or connected to the jet engines. FADEC systems are basically controlled electronically; they're linked that way, but they still on, for instance, this particular jet, they actually manually, there's servos that move the throttles. So when a thrust reduction occurs, the throttles move. They retard. They move backwards, move toward the back of the airplane, and then when power is added, it moves forward. I guess what happened here, and it has a history of write-ups that when the airplane was in the auto throttle mode, when power was reduced, the right throttle lever didn't move. It got kind of stuck. or if it did move, it didn't move as much as it was supposed to. So it's commanding both throttles to move back, both engines to reduce thrust. And because the right one's not going back as far as it should, the left one's starting to compensate for that. So it's going back even more because it's trying to maintain that speed. And over time, the difference, the spread between the throttle positions got to the point where when they were trying to make a right bank to avoid some thunderstorm cells, they had the thing like basically cranked all the way to the right, and the bank was and the control yokes were like way to the right. I forgot what degree of right. It was like about 39 degrees or so, but the airplane was only banking 5 degrees. So something was wrong there, and they should have noticed it. They didn't, and it got to the point where, again, this is kind of a nutshell thing, and I think that Rick is going to be better at kind of explaining all this because it's a Boeing.
You've done a great job. I've got really nothing.
So
to add
at some point the autothrottle system basically goes, I give up, right? It just goes with most autoflight systems. At a certain point, it's just going to go, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do, and I'm trying to do it. I can't. I've gotten to the point now where I don't have any more authority, and I'm just, you have the airplane. You have the throttles. And I'm not sure if they realized that the throttles were now their thing or what. I think that basically the airplane goes into an unusual attitude. Pilots are confused about what's happening here. Airplane goes into an unusual attitude. It's dark, it's night over the Java Sea, and they didn't take the appropriate steps to recover the airplane, and they crashed. All right, and that's all. That's pretty much all I really know how or what to say for this. But Rick, why don't you take over?
No, you hit all the points, all the nails directly in the head there. The only thing I'd add perhaps is that on Boeing aircraft, I don't know how it works on the MD-95 or 717, but on Boeing aircraft, the majority of them, at least ones I've flown, anything over 2 units of aileron trim is going to deploy roll spoilers on the wing that's going down, so that it is going to obviously, and the reason why you have roll spoilers is because it helps with banking, with your maneuverability, right? Maneuverability of the aircraft, and so you have to be mindful of that. It's one of those situations where if you ever if found yourself in the simulator and you're flying around without the proper amount of rudder trim, you'll see your yoke, going one way or the other. And ideally, what you have to do if you're flying in an engineette situation is you want to go and give yourself the amount of rudder trim required to level your yoke. And so if your yoke is pointing towards the left, the left side is low, then you give yourself left rudder trim to zero that out and try to fly fly a coordinated aircraft because of this. Now in this situation, it wasn't an engine issue per se; it was a auto throttle issue. And as you said, Jeff, yes, the auto throttles are back driven on Boeing aircraft, and as we've learned here, there was some kind of issue with the one of the throttles binding. Another thing to keep in mind here, and this is something that I try to do as much as possible while in the terminal area. Always keep your hands on the controls, always, because these, at least with these systems that are back driven, you can really. I'd like to say that you have to fly with your 5 senses. You need to hear the aircraft. That's why I'm not personally, and this is just me, I'm not a big fan of noise attenuation during the takeoff, the climb, the descent, and the landing, because I like to listen and hear the engines. And I need to, hold the controls of the aircraft, my feet on the rudder pedals, my hand on the yoke, my right hand on the throttles, and kind of follow along to what the aircraft, the autopilot is doing, because that gives me an idea of how the aircraft, the health of the aircraft. And then also it's important to keep your flight mode enunciations, which is basically what the autopilot is doing, the modes, the active modes of the autopilot. Keep that in your scan, because I've noticed over the years that a lot of people tend to look at the mode control panel, which is basically the interface between the pilot and the autopilot, instead of looking at what the FMA is actually saying, what the actual modes of the autopilot are and the autothrottle are. But yeah, just keep your hands on the throttle and the yoke, and it's one of those things where things just kind of got to a point where, it's just unrecoverable. You go out. I mean, have you ever been outside with no moon and no discernible horizon? It's really hard to tell which way is up, and add to that the fact that you find yourself in a very dynamic situation trying to figure out which way is up, and you have the split throttles, and it's just, man, just a bad way to go. But I really don't know what else to add. But you hit everything on the nail, on the head, Jeff.
Well, the thing that was really, really frustrating, and I think a significant contribution to this whole thing, was the investigation noted that since 2013 until the accident flight, there were 65 problems related to the autothrottle system, and the reported engineer actions in attempting to address the reported autothrottle problem were dominated by cleaning connectors. Replacements of several components were also performed. The aircraft maintenance log, AML, recorded replacement of the right engine. However, autothrottle problems still occurred that showed that the problem was not related to the engine. The engineer actions did not solve the problem. So they did all these different things. Also, 61 problems related to the difference in engine parameters between left and right engines, 32 times of autothrottle disengagement. Most of the differences in the engine parameters were reported during the aircraft on descent. The AML also recorded the lack of thrust lever movement of the right engine. 6 pilot reports related to slow response of the right thrust lever to flight idle during descent. 2 pilot reports related to the thrust reverser lever hard to move. I mean, they have just all this history, and nobody seemed to realize that it was the darn right throttle lever binding. Nobody, after all that time, all those years, nobody connected the dots, and I just like, wow, that. And then even the flight right before this flight, this accident flight, they had a similar occurrence happen to them, but they were able to recover from it. But I think they said in this report that they didn't write it up. They didn't tell anybody. So
yeah.
This is really sad, and now I'm saying this crew, without any of that information, should have been able to, because they're trained professional airline pilots, to sense, as you said, by following through on the airplane controls and everything else, that something wasn't operating correctly. And if they even got it to the point where the airplane left controlled flight, that they should be able to. This happened around 10,000 feet above the Java Sea. They should have been able to be, able to recover from that, in my opinion, but they didn't. They weren't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's a binding. Sounds like a binding cable issue on newer type aircraft. You have a. It's just very simply put it's basically a DC motor signal that is directly proportional to thrust lever movement angle, and there's a name for that sensor. There's the thrust quadrant angle sensor, I believe it is, off the top of my head. And it's basically obviously the further up, the higher the closer to the front of the aircraft the thrust levers are, the higher the voltage, and then that voltage is interpreted by the EECs as a command for higher thrust. Not the case with the 737-500. 737-500 really is the replacement for the 737-200. So you're talking very, very early technology here. So it's all cables to the fuel control units, like in the old Mad Dog there, Jeff. So
yeah. Anything to add, Camacho or Captain Nick?
No, sir. You've covered it very well.
On my end.
Well, really, the only reason why we wanted to talk about it was so we could play this sound clip.
Sri Vijaya.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it might be the last time for a while, Liz says. Okay. Let's continue with a preliminary report of a King Air. I believe it was a 1974 Beech E90. It was October 18th of this year, 7:09 Eastern Daylight Time, a morning flight. November 515 Golf Kilo was substantially damaged when it was involved in an accident in Marietta, Ohio. The two commercial pilots were fatally injured. The airplane was operated as a Title 14 Code of Federal Regulations Part 91 positioning flight. Flight originated at the John Glenn Columbus International Airport, CMH, in Columbus, Ohio. It was en route to Mid-Ohio Valley Regional Airport, Parkersburg, West Virginia. Preliminary automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, ADS-B data, revealed that after takeoff from CMH, the airplane climbed, turned on a ground track of 115 degrees, then leveled off at 11,000 feet, where it remained for most of the en route portion of the 75 nautical mile flight. So pretty quick flight, short flight. Turns out that well, let me do this. Let me play a little bit of the ATC live audio from the flight, and let's see. Here we go. We're going to take a listen.
Target Retire King Air 515 Golf Kilo with you on the RNAV 21.
King Air 515 Golf Kilo, Parkersburg Tower, report Midco.
Report Midco, 5 Golf Kilo.
King Air 5 Golf Kilo, how far from Midco are you?
We are 3 miles from Midco.
Okay, thank you.
5 Golf Kilo is Midco inbound.
King Air 5 Golf Kilo, ready to continue. There's a vehicle on the runway checking for wildlife. They'll be clear shortly.
Roger.
Go 10 rudder, see the Hotel Gosford Ram, cross runway 28 at Hotel. King Air 5 Golf Kilo, 1280 at 10, runway 21, clear to land.
Clear to land 21, 5 Golf Kilo.
Tower, did that plane just go down? I don't know. I saw the light. I knew it got in a cloud. 5 Golf Kilo, you all right? King Air 515 Golf Kilo, Parkersburg.
Tower, we see smoke coming up the field back here, up the mountain.
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Tower, from
Yeah, they know he's down and location. They're getting numerous calls. It's in the Marietta area.
And we have some security camera video that is quite dramatic. And you'll see in the center of the screen here it coming down and crashing. And I think that in the next few frames we'll see some more slow motion of that same clip. Some people thought maybe the aircraft was on fire before it hit the ground, but I believe because of the camera, the security camera and the infrared kind of thing. Anyway, it was a landing light, that the regular lighting of the aircraft, as far as I can tell here. But it is definitely going almost straight down and kind of rolling a bit. So obviously both pilots perished in this accident, sadly. What I was going to say is that day there was an AirMet for that entire area, spanning from west of Columbus, Ohio, all the way east of Parkersburg, West Virginia, for icing, significant icing between essentially the surface and 13,000 feet. And they were the entire flight at 11,000 feet. And so their investigators are thinking that icing is definitely going to be a significant factor in the cause of this crash. Rick, did you?
Well, I hate to say it, in the past, icing has been a devil of a nightmare for aviation, but modern aircraft are expected, all-weather aircraft in particular, are expected to be able to cope with icing conditions, and we're so well educated that it's something that should be in the forefront of our minds, whether we're actually in a forecast area of icing, or in this case an area where icing is both forecast and reported by other pilots. It should definitely be there. So little concern that that might be the cause, because really and honestly, that's no good reason for that. But it would explain uneven amounts of lift, stall and then spin. But I guess we're going to find out when the final report comes out.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah, I
So
agree.
far.
I was just going to kind of mention the same thing. Right as you look at here in the news section we've got here, there's a clip of the FlightAware, both the positional log, but also a graph of the airspeed, and you can see the last couple of minutes of the flight. You know, the airspeed obviously getting set up for an approach, they're slowing down. But that's just the first thing that came to my mind is 100 miles an hour in a twin turbine is prime real
Kinda
estate
slow.
if you got a bunch of ice on the airplane.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to what kind of I don't imagine they have anti-icing. They probably have de-icing, right? The Beechcraft. I've never flown a Beechcraft or a turboprop for that matter, and so I'm not. I know that turboprops, they hang around in the the arears.
The worst case.
Yeah, the worst
scenarios.
Exactly, where the
Yeah.
icing is the worst. We on jet airliners usually fly above the icing, the heaviest layers of icing, and we plan accordingly. We tell the flight management system where we expect to find the icing, and the reason why we do that is because that way the FMC can recalculate our optimum descent point based on that slightly higher idle power. Because if you're going to be running the engine NIs and the wing NIs, then you go to a higher idle, which requires a recalculation of your top of descent point to make it as continuous and economical as possible. But going to props, to turboprops, you really are flying in the thick of it, in the soup. And accident comes to mind. It was an ATR, I believe it was a 72 American Eagle back in Roseland, Indiana. A very, very, very similar issue here. Well, I'm not saying that this is what happened to this particular aircraft, but it'd be, I'm sure the NTSB fellows are looking into icing as a possibility.
Yeah, I'm looking at this photo here of the actual accident aircraft. They have boots. I guess you would call that de-icing, right? Not anti-ice. It doesn't prevent the icing, but icing builds up. And I've never flown an airplane that has inflatable boots, but you get to the certain point where then you just hit the switch and they inflate, and then it breaks apart the ice and it sheds off, I guess. Brent, have you ever flown an airplane like that?
Barely. And definitely not in the weather. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else to add? We'll kind of keep our eyes open regarding the investigation of that. But it's another tragedy. And
IHAL Boxer says it's an interesting point here. He's talking about the fluctuating airspeed being a GPS airspeed. I don't know. ADSB, basically the way your ADSB ADSB stands for automatic dependent surveillance. It's basically a way of the aircraft has of letting ATC, another aircraft, know their altitude, their speed, their heading, all that stuff. And the difference between ADSB and ADSC is that ADSB works directly through the transponder, whereas ADSC works via data link. So ADSB does take into account transponder data, whether it was GPS inputs or indicated. I don't know. I don't know if. I think that is aircraft specific. I know that our ADS-C and our ADS-B, when we're not logged on to CPDLC or to data link, our airspeed readout or input into the ADS-B system is GPS, if we are GPS equipped, and inertial if we're not. So I don't know if that's aircraft specific or not, but it's good.
all right. Let's move on. Next item here. I've been negligent in telling everybody where these things are from. This is from the Aviation Herald, one of our favorite resources for incidents and accidents. A MEA or MIA, Middle East Airlines, Airbus A320-200, registration Oscar Delta Mike Romeo Mike, performing Flight 311 from Amman, Jordan to Beirut, Lebanon. Departed Amman's runway 26 right, climbed to flight level 280, and landed on Beirut's runway 16 about 40 minutes later. In flight, the fuselage crown was penetrated by an object believed to be a bullet upon landing in Beirut. The airline reported a stray bullet struck the aircraft as it was landing in Beirut. Celebrity gunshots hit about 7 to 8 stationary aircraft at Beirut Airport per year. This was the first time a moving aircraft was hit, and they got cowboys there, obviously.
Jeff, just real quick, I think you meant to say celebratory gunshots. I think celebrity gunshots are slightly different.
I think it was a celebrity that did it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I retract myself.
Well,
no,
all I
you're
can
right.
say
It's celebratory. Thank you. Gunshots.
Aim must be improving if they finally hit a moving one.
Yeah. Well, of course, these are like they're lobbing, they're going up, and then they're coming back down. That's
well,
pretty
most
amazing.
bullets do that.
I think so. Yeah, but you know what I mean. I don't think it had anything to. Well, I guess you have an aiming aspect of it, but
that's a skill depending on what weapon you're using.
Yeah,
apparently so. That was a pretty big darn hole that went through. Looking at that second one, Liz. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just and look how close it came to some of these cables that look like. Well, that looks like barbed wire, but that can't be right. That must be twisted or something.
Are you sure it's not
Wait a minute.
boat?
It's a Texas. It's a Texas jet.
Oh, there you go. That counts for it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Anyway, that could have easily been a major problem if it hit one of the control cables or something. You know, maybe.
Yeah, that was when we used to fly into Afghanistan on the 747. That was always a concern of ours. And the reason why we had to do things a certain way, go in and do this specific descent pattern inside a protected area and with your lights off, and you couldn't have your lights on until very short final if you wanted them. And it happened a couple of times. You get the aircraft modified, and then it's and then it's a problem trying to get it out of there because you have to contact engineering, and Boeing has to get involved, and in the meantime your duty time is going just clicking away, and then you find yourself stuck in barracks somewhere, and that can't be fun. Never happened to me, but I know of a couple times that it happened at different outfits that used to operate in and out of there.
Mohammed, our air traffic control representative in Baghdad, Iraq, he says, unfortunately, people here celebrate using gunshots, even celebrities. I added that, actually. Yeah, wow, that's pretty crazy, huh? Let's see. So I'm thinking, if you're flying an airplane, this is the next one from the Aviation Herald, a Link SF-34 Saab 340B operating on behalf of Virgin Australia. So, you have this airplane, propellers on the ground, they can twirl around, hit people and stuff. So, it'd be a good idea to have some kind of a system to secure the propeller at night, except that you have to remember to remove that before you go flying.
Take it off in the morning.
Yeah, so they were departing. I don't know how they got this far, actually. They departed Canberra's runway 35 when a strap used to secure the left-hand propeller on the ground struck and penetrated the left side of the aircraft, causing minor injuries to 3 passengers. The flight crew, having received an emergency call from the cabin crew, stopped the initial climb at 3,000 feet and returned to the airport for an immediate landing on runway 35 about 7 minutes after departure. The ATSB deployed investigators on site reported a ratchet strap attached to the propeller punctured the side of the plane, with one of its ends appearing inside the cabin shortly after takeoff. There's the photo of that on screen in the video. The strap had been used to secure the propeller overnight, had not been removed. Not a good pre-flight, apparently. And
Nope.
I'm just like perplexed. How did they actually get the engine started and get the propeller running and get that take off and not.
Well,
fly
a lot
off
of these
until 3,000
smaller
feet.
airplanes have a lot of them don't have APUs, and you have what are called prop brakes, and you'll engage the prop brake, and you'll actually use the hot portion of the engine to run the accessories required for electricity and climate control of the aircraft while the prop is basically stopped. You have a free spinning turbine that's connected to that prop, and so you will get again, haven't flown a turboprop ever, but it just from basic A&P knowledge stuff from back in the day. You engage this prop brake, the engine runs, you get electricity and climate control, and then once you're ready to go, you release a prop brake, and then the prop starts starts going. So I imagine that the indications were normal as far as torque and everything else, but I don't know if and again, someone that has experience flying turboprops is going to chime in here. I don't know if I believe the primary indication of power on turboprops is torque, right? And I don't know if turboprops have the equivalent of an N1 N1 rotation indicator. I don't know. So I mean that's my guess.
Was swinging freely for takeoff. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got airborne. But they've got to 3,000 feet, Rick. So my feeling is that they released one end of this tape that was this cord that was holding the props in position, but they didn't actually remove it from the propeller tip. So it was probably flailing around until eventually it flung itself off and bumped into the fuselage. So that I don't know how these things work, but that would be my guess.
I tell you, whoever put that strap on that prop there is either Samson or the whatever system is used to keep it secure there is man, that's torque.
Yeah, because after all, it must have hung on there at full power for the takeoff, and then eventually worked itself free or frayed loose or something. I don't know. What you must have these bits of kit, Nick. Do you use these at all?
Me?
Yeah. You're the only Nick here, except me.
Except for you.
No, all the airplanes I fly are, internal combustion engines that aren't deal with compression
don't you worry
strokes
about the props spinning? No, I guess you wouldn't. You've got to turn the whole engine around to get the prop to flip over, haven't you?
Well, yeah, all the internals of the engine. You got to go through a compression stroke. I don't know about the bigger.
Oh, that sounds so naughty.
I don't know about the bigger. I don't know about the bigger turboprops, but like Rick was saying, some of those freewheeling turboprops, like the King Air we just talked about in the last story, it's not uncommon to see those guys when they're getting ready to go. The propellers will just kind of be windmilling lightly on the ground, and that's because it's not direct drive connected to anything, and it does not take very much wind to start moving the propellers. So that's why all of those guys will have these restraint mechanisms. Usually they do not affect the performance of the aircraft, though.
Yeah,
but it's also not unheard of for ground equipment to for pilots to have incidents with ground equipment. There's a video that just started going around the internet either last night or this morning of a T6, original North American T6 Texan, taking off with a tow bar. And
I saw it. Yeah.
It's one thing if you are like a Cessna 150 taking off with the little, which I think happens all the time, right? The little like 3-foot tow bar, like 1 bar, and you take off with that thing. But a T6 tow bar is, 8 to 10 feet long. It's this big wishbone shaped thing. And there's a video of this airplane taking off with that huge, probably weighs 60 to 70 pounds tow bar hanging off the main struts of the airplane. So it's also not unheard of for pilots to overlook some of that basic ground support equipment.
Yeah, like the other day,
I tell
we
ya.
forgot to remove the tow bar, and there's a lot of drag. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of drag. That's why I like super tugs better, because there's no tow bar involved. So
Yeah.
one less
Yeah.
thing to worry about.
All right. Last but not least, from the NTSB preliminary report, I believe. Or is this the final? I can't tell. Final. Okay. Oh yeah, look at there. The title of the news item says final. Analysis. The pilot was on a cross-country instrument flight rules flight. While en route to the destination airport, he diverted to an alternate airport with a higher ceiling. The flight was operating in instrument meteorological conditions. By the way, it was a Cirrus SR-22. And was vectored by the controller to the initial approach fix for the instrument landing system approach. The pilot was instructed to cross the IAF at or above 2,000 feet mean sea level. However, with the vertical speed mode of the autopilot off, the airplane did not descend much below 3,000 feet pressure altitude as it approached the initial approach fix. When the flight was less than 2 miles from the IAF, an autopilot course capture with a corresponding heading change to the left occurred. Over the next 25 seconds, by the way, this is at Myrtle Beach Airport. Brent and I have flown in there a few times, landing to the south. Let's see, when the flight was less than 2 miles, the autopilot course capture, over the next 25 seconds, with the autopilot altitude bug set at 2,000 feet, which was 1,000 feet below the airplane's current altitude, the autopilot vertical speed mode engaged, and the autopilot vertical speed bug set initially to 500 feet descent, feet per minute descent, and then subsequently to greater than 750 feet per minute descent. The airplane climbed less than 10 feet over the course of 4 seconds, then began slowly descending, with pitch trim in motion occurring numerous times over the course of 15 seconds. The slight increase in altitude initially was likely due to environmental conditions, since the airplane then began to descend at a rate of about 1,000 feet per minute. The delay in descending was likely the result of an increased startup voltage of the pitch servo, which is not supposed to happen. As the airplane neared the IAF, a waypoint change from the IAF to the original destination airport occurred. Whoopsie. That's definitely not supposed to occur. It's likely that this erroneous waypoint change was the result of pilot input. The airplane flew through the localizer course, and as it passed outside of the outer edge of the localizer, the autopilot turned off. The pilot could not recall turning the autopilot off, and the reason for the autopilot turning off could not be determined from the available evidence. Over the next minute, a series of altitude excursions occurred during which the airplane repeatedly climbed and descended. During this time, the controller advised the pilot that he had flown through the localizer, and the pilot advised the controller that he was aborting the procedure. The pilot reported that when he added power, he had difficulty maintaining control of the airplane and that it was unstable. Subsequently, the pilot sensed that he was fighting the airplane and in an unusual attitude, with the pitch trim near full nose down position and the airplane in a corresponding negative 42 degrees nose low and 13-degree left roll attitude.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's not good. He deployed the airplane's parachute system. The airplane descended under canopy and touched down in the backyard of a house. The airplane's nose gear collapsed and the rudder partially separated during the landing, resulting in substantial damage to the airframe. While off course with the autopilot engaged and the vertical speed mode selected, the pilot likely applied and held pitch control input that was sensed by the autopilot auto trim system as an out of trim condition. The autopilot auto trim system responded by trimming the airplane, resulting in the corresponding altitude excursion. So he's fighting the autopilot system, and the autopilot's going, oh, it's out of trim, so I'm going to trim even more in the wrong direction.
Uh-huh.
And he's going up and down, up and down. That's why the altitude deviations occurred. And this guy basically got in a PIO, it looks like, with himself in the airplane and decided, okay, this airplane's out of control now, so I'm just going to pull activate the cap system, or the caps. Anyway, let me finish up the paragraph here. No significant discrepancies were noted during testing of the remaining autopilot components. Therefore, it's likely that the pilot manually changed course when near the IAF and then intentionally applied control pressure on the control yoke for longer than 3 seconds with the vertical speed mode engaged. These actions resulted in a heading change, altitude excursions, and the subsequent departure from controlled flight. The NTSB determines the probable cause to be the pilot's incorrect use of the autopilot while approaching the initial approach fix and his subsequent improper primary pitch control input while a pitch mode of the autopilot was engaged, which resulted in pitch excursions and subsequent departure from controlled flight. Right now, Liz is showing, or was showing on the video, and this will be in the show notes as well. I guess a company that recovered some of these components of the aircraft, the Cirrus SR-22. This is the pitch trim actuator, which was near full airplane nose down. But they didn't really see any, other than the slow startup voltage of activating the pitch control servo, which, as I said, was not proper completely, but there was a little bit of a delay, in that system. They didn't find any other discrepancies. And anyway, so I don't have experience in the Cirrus SR-22. But it certainly looks to me, I don't know if he had a lot of experience in instrument flight. I'm guessing he didn't, but looks like he kind of got into a corner, and the airplane wasn't doing what he thought it should do, and so instead of disconnecting everything and just making the corrections manually, he was fighting the autopilot. And as we know, most of us who have flown airplanes that have an autopilot, you can only go so far with the autopilot before it just goes, okay, you have the airplane now. And it might give you the airplane in a condition that you're not expecting, like because it's been doing all this trimming to recover from, or in response to what you're doing with it. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but anyway, so that's what happened here. And
you certainly are, Jeff. And just bear in mind that most of the aircraft we fly, most airliners, they trim using the horizontal stabilizer. So that is a hugely powerful control surface. So if that gets way big time out of trim, the little elevators that most of us use to fly the airplane up and down are easily overpowered by that. So, I don't know exactly what system this airplane used, but it's worth bearing in mind that if you'd allowed the airplane to get badly out of trim, you may not have enough control surface left to counter it.
Right. By the way, we should mention also operating under instrument flight rules and also operating in instrument meteorological conditions while this occurred. So, completely in the weather. And he said that I think the pilot was quoted as saying that the airplane was not descending as fast as the pilot wanted, and the airplane was not as stable as he wanted it to be. Again, kind of fighting it. And I think in large part due to some errors in the way he was actually activating the autoflight system. But I don't know. Anybody else have any ideas here, Rick?
No, I just I'm with you. Like we've said here, the autopilot's only it only has a certain range, operational range, and once it's outside of that, it's like, yep, all right, I guess you know better, so here you go. And oftentimes that's that can put you in an unwanted state, which it can be a little harder to recover from than otherwise it would. But yeah, I don't know if you. That's why it's important. I feel like it's important to just kind of, again, this I've never flown a Cirrus, but I imagine it has something similar to flight mode initiations as far as what the active flight mode is for the portion of the flight, and just keep that in your scan, because if you're using the autopilot, it's nice to know what the autopilot's doing, and the only way to see what the autopilot's doing is by looking at what the active modes are. And so, yeah. Good thing he made it though. I mean, good thing on that
Yeah.
on that parachute.
He lived
Well,
through
yeah, I'd
it. The
say-
airplane.
Yeah. Sorry, when you deploy that parachute, that's kind of last-ditch thing. I'm glad he recognized the fact that he had lost control of the airplane, didn't continue to try and fight it down until it was too late, because he must have known that when he fires that parachute, good chance he's going to completely ruin his airplane.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I mean, if I find myself 42 degrees nose down and 13 degrees rolling to the left in IMC, I'm gonna be pulling that puppy.
Yeah, that's an unusual attitude. That's a upset recovery maneuver time.
Yep.
Yeah, well before that, actually, right, Brent? I thought, again, in the original narrative here, as the airplane neared the initial approach fix, a waypoint change from the initial approach fix to the original destination airport occurred. So it sounds to me like maybe he didn't really have the proper RNAV procedure programmed correctly, or it didn't have the right sequencing of waypoints for the approach, because you go from the IF to the original destination airport. What happened to all those points after the IF? They're apparently not there. So, interesting.
Good point.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think this is
familiar
an
with how it
important.
works.
I think this is an important example of, additional systems or automation are good, but it's not all like just positive, right? When you start adding those systems and everything, they can have negative consequences to what's going on here. Especially if you don't understand like how the trim system works, you don't understand all the buttonology. I bet it would be a lot less likely if this guy, I was trying to look through here and kind of get a feel for his background and how much instrument flying he's done. But, if he's in an airplane without any sort of auto trim or autopilot, I bet it'd be a lot less likely that he got himself in a unusual attitude because he was expecting the airplane to behave a certain way. And here it seems like he maybe didn't have a complete grasp of how the autopilot was responding to his inputs, and that kind of exacerbated his situation here.
Yeah. All right. I don't understand IHAL boxes. Loke captured, not to be confused with Loke caps.
Caps is the name of it's Cirrus Airframe Parachute System.
Oh, okay.
So caps.
Oh, I see.
I think that's what he's getting at, is like a caps actuation. That means you pop the chute.
Okay. Intercepting the localizer. Okay. Initiate the parachute system. Yeah. That's definitely an error.
Details.
You don't want to make. And apparently, I was kind of surprised, and I think we've talked about this before in incidents involving the Cirrus airframe parachute system, where they said in most cases the airplane, it's basically done. It does so much damage to it, that structural damage, that it's toast. And those things are not cheap.
No, but it's part of that is the trade-off, right, of payload and complexity. Like they have to fit a parachute in there, and the speed that you hit the ground, basically, right, is dependent on the size of the parachute. Mm-hmm. So you can either lose X amount of your payload and hit the ground in a survivable for a human, but not survivable in an airframe speed and acceleration. Or, if you try to wedge a parachute in there big enough to have the aircraft be reusable, it might take up a significant amount of your payload, both your payload volume and your weight that you can utilize.
Exactly why we don't have full airframe parachute systems for airliners, because they'd be so heavy we wouldn't be able to carry any passengers.
Right.
Yeah. One word: bubble wrap. Actually, that's 2 words.
Bubble wrap. Well, these days it could be one word, Rick.
It could
way
be,
our language is.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a two-sided conversation about the Cirrus parachute, and I think everybody would agree that it is overall it overall has had a positive impact on the Cirrus by a lot, right? But there are some edge cases where you wonder if like the mindset was altered enough by having that parachute that it maybe caused an emergency that normally would not have been the case. I don't know enough about this situation to know if, maybe this guy wasn't comfortable enough in IMC normally to go fly, but he had a parachute, so he thought, what's the worst that could happen? I could pop the parachute.
Yeah.
But I think an example of that is you go look, I think 2 months ago, maybe, I don't remember if we talked about it on the show because I wasn't on the show very much in September, but the Cirrus Jet had their first parachute actuation. And basically what happened is they flew it into a thunderstorm, and the airplane started to come apart and they popped the parachute. And so that was a scenario of, people, the conversation started happening of it is a parachute save, right? Because those people would not have made it if there wasn't a parachute, but were they emboldened by having the parachute to put the airplane in a scenario where it shouldn't have been in?
Good point. I mean, it's definitely been a great selling point for the Cirrus company. To have this system. I'm sure that's the reason why they have sold so many of those darn things.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I agree. There's got to be that component there where you're going, well, I have this thing to kind of get me out of trouble whereas if you didn't have that in the back of your mind, you go, no, I'm not going to do that because heck, I could kill myself if I did that.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
And I would take one. I would take one in a heartbeat, by the way. I would just like to point that out as a Bonanza guy. Oh, yeah.
Anybody out there listening who has a Cirrus SR?
Oh, no. I'm just saying, there are some people that believe that the parachute isn't worth the hassle and the loss of payload like we talked about. And there are maintenance implications, right? Like I think I don't remember. At some point I had a couple of friends looking at one, and that was probably 6 or 8 years ago. But it was something like every 5 years you have to get the rocket replaced or checked out or whatever. And it was something like $15,000 every 5 years or 8 years. So not an insignificant cost for someone like me operating the level of airplane that I am, but maybe that is an insignificant cost when you're talking about $1 million airplane owner. So, but yeah, I would take it. I would
rubber powered ejector seats. That's what you want.
I don't want anything to do with ejection seats. Yeah.
Well, no. Martin Baker would be too expensive. You just want a big elastic band and a hole in the roof.
Exactly.
Oh, rubber.
A la Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Show titles here, maybe. I don't know. All right. Think about it. Somebody write it down.
Acme ejection system.
Perfect. And I can see it. The little Roadrunner and the Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, I can see it. Okay. Guess what time it is? It's 3:29 Central Standard Time. Oh, no. It's Getting to Know Us. Our segment where we talk about what's been happening to the crew, with the crew, between episodes. And look at that nice new graphic that Nick put together. I don't think you were here, Rick, when we introduced that.
I'm the only one in uniform, I see.
I see, and a very nice hat. Is that the uniform hat for Acme Giant?
That is the uniform hat, indeed. It is.
Actually, from what I hear, I gather you take your uniform off as soon as you get on the flight deck.
I take the uniform off as soon as I get to the hotel, and then I go that way to the airplane in my bathrobe, actually. That was just for the flight deck.
Yeah, I've heard of another pilot like you.
Why even bother with a uniform?
Exactly.
Come on.
I'm going to take it off anyway. So, like Hillel, I'm going to get my epaulets on my bathrobe.
Did you say bosses don't care, Liz? Boxes don't care.
Shingles doesn't care.
Shingles doesn't care either.
No, he doesn't.
All right. So, Rick, since we're talking to you right now and you haven't been with us for a show or two, what's been happening with you?
Well, the reason why I wasn't on the show was 2 shows ago. I went over to Leipzig once again, did a nice little oceanic trip over to Leipzig, Germany. So I spent a little over a day there. Nice weather going over. It's always nice to. I tell you, I love doing that. Those oceanic crossings, especially all the Atlantic crossing procedures. Going to Gander and then Shanwick and all that stuff. Weather in Germany was great. It was so good that I just left the windows at the room open. It was very, very nice. Very nice, crisp fall-like weather. The Christmas markets were starting to pop up here and there, so that was always nice. Always nice to walk through those. And then I got to visit Johann Sebastian Bach's his tomb, the church where he played, and then they have a museum out there dedicated to his life and his work. So I got to do that a little bit, and that was nice. Flew back stateside, and then I did a one last trip from Cincinnati over to Las Vegas, which apparently it's funny because the last couple of times that I've come home at the end of my pattern, they always seem to tack on a Cincy to Vegas trip, which I like. It's interesting though because my FO gets to stay and I have to run, which I'm not complaining. I get to park the airplane and then run to the terminal to pick up a flight down near to Phoenix. It's short little half-hour flight, and it's nice because you get to come home and start working on your honey-do list here. And then been off for about a week. Just spending time here at home with the puppies. We went did a nice little hike the other day with the dogs. And what else did I do? That's really been it. Getting ready to go back to work on Friday, and the bid package just came for the December bidding period, so I just did that. Just got awarded Houston base, which is nice. And it's a small base, only 12 captains and 20 FOs in that base. And this time around, I'm bidding number 2 on the entire, I guess bid order of seniorities, which is nice.
Ooh,
get to
number 2.
Yeah, I know. Get to bid something that I might like for a change, not have to bid a secondary line or anything like that. So not that matters, but it's nice to kind of have an idea of what it is that you're going to get in December. No 60-day lines this time though, so it's just a 30-day line, which is fine. So that's really been it. Just not a lot going on. Just spending time at home here with Kai and the puppies. So it's nice. Can't complain there.
Yeah, very good. We're so glad that you were able to join us today. That's always a treat. All right. What'd you say, Liz? Nothing. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought I heard somebody utter something. All right. Who wants to go next? Let me bring us all back in there. Captain Nick looks like he wants to say something. I don't know.
Oh, I was just going to say I was very lucky.
Yes.
I got Christmas off this year, so
good for you.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I know. It's just pretty good, huh? Yeah, I didn't even have to make a fuss about that. The only thing that's really occurred. Let me cover all the other stuff first, actually, before I talk about the TDPU. And that's the fact that Sam Dawson, one of our listeners and United pilot, is coming to the UK on one of his many UK flights on the 20th, on Sunday. And at the moment, he's planning to come to my village, and we're going to go out and find a pub and or perhaps have a meal at our place. But if there are other people in the London area who are interested in having a bit of a meet-up, it's short notice, I know, but just let us know. Central London kind of area. We might try and find a pub there, and I will go up to London instead. But got a few days before Sunday, so if you do hear this and decide you'd like to make an evening of it, late afternoon, evening, then let us know, and we'll change venue, and I will go up to London instead. So that's the sitch there. Tomorrow I am giving a talk at the Royal Aeronautical Society branch at Brooklands Museum, and I've been running through my talk, which I'm looking forward to chatting to those fine folk always get a good quality audience at one of the Royal Aeronautical Society dues.
Yes.
Much nicer than your common or garden aviation society. But
Yes.
no, that's great. And more importantly, okay, the TDPU, the annual Phantom thinly disguised drinking exercise, thinly disguised piss up, occurred at a nice pub in London. And rather than me go on about it, I've got some audio, and I'm going to apologise for the quality of the audio and the language. Because
If you have any kids, go ahead and take them
yeah,
away.
exactly right. I've done my best to reduce the volume on some words, but others I may have missed. So if I have, I apologise. And there are a few pictures and a bit of video first, and then a few pictures to go along with that. So
Okay, so you want me to play the audio at the same time playing the video?
If you've got enough hands, Jeff, yes.
I'm gonna
when
give
your
it a
video
shot.
finishes, I'll join in with some photos.
Okay, very good. So here, let's start the audio right here, and then the video.
Gentlemen, I give you the flag! We'll drink to the freedom of the right. Sing up! No longer will we tremble at England's military might. So give to me your hand, Fraulein, your lily white hand, Fraulein, for tonight we march against England. England, England's island shores. Phantoms are fighters, we're not queer fighters, but the Jack makes a bomb bandit. La la la, Jack makes a bomb bandit. La la la.
Jeff, it's Captain Nick, and we're in the amazing, what used to be the Lord Moon, but is now called the Horse and Guardsman, which is not very appropriate for a bunch of Air Force guys. But I've got with me one of my favourite old navs, CJ Smith, who we used to fly with a lot in the old days, and I'm talking a long time ago. CJ, lovely to see you.
It's lovely to meet you as well. It's the first time I've seen you in many, many years.
Absolutely brilliant. You've been recounting some of our favourite stories together. Have you got another one you could tell?
Only one? Only one?
As many as you want.
Well, I do remember we both lived in married quarters, and I do remember one particular event when it was a Friday night, and everybody went to the officers' mess on a Friday night for happy hour, and you would have a few beers to relax after a hard week. Or not, as the case may be. And we came home one particular night, absolutely relaxed, very relaxed.
This wasn't the one with you on the back of my bike, was it?
No, that's a different one. I can tell you about that if you like. But anyway, we came back, and as I said, we lived about 2 or 3 doors apart. The first garden we got to was my garden, and we ended up on my front lawn, basically wrestling each other. At which point, my wife came out, and Jilly came out, and it was a case of, for God's sake, just sort yourselves out. So I was summoned back into my house with my lovely wife, and you went home to Jilly, and I have no idea what happened after that.
Best not talk about it. Have you got any flying stories?
Yes, I do remember being out in the North Sea on some random exercise, and we found some United States Air Force F-111s pretending to attack the UK. We intercepted them, and towards the end, we were chasing them to try to close down the range between us and them as they closed on the UK. all very exciting. We eventually got into firing range, and I can't remember whether we fired or not, but I do remember thinking, we must be out of fuel by now. So at some point, we pulled up and said, we got to go home. Nick, because of his general air picture, which was occasionally weak, said, we've got to go to Turnhouse, we've got to go to Turnhouse. And I said, no, we have enough fuel to get back to Lucas, which is where we were based. So he said, oh, okay, CJ. And we eventually went back to Lucas. So the air defences, Nick will probably tell you.
Yeah, blue on blue, they shot us down. That's brilliant, CJ.
It must be years since I've seen you, Nick. You know, living in Australia and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, keep your Facebook page going. And I tune into it all the time. Thank you very much for that.
Timmy,
Yes, my darling.
Tell us what you're doing here.
I've come to meet the greatest bunch of chaps and chapesses I've ever known, who have flown or have been associated with one of the most magnificent aircraft the Royal Air Force has ever had. Not too many people are falling over. What more do you want? And it's only about sort of 6:30 in the evening.
Well, you're quite right. Now, what is your favourite memory of the Phantom?
I'm not allowed to say because this is public.
All right, what's your second favourite memory?
Enjoying the flying, Nick, to be quite honest. That's the important thing. The whole, even when I was a complete bag of crap in the back seat, the best thing was just flying in the Phantom. Behind, even sometimes, the guys who had no idea what they were doing.
There were plenty of those around, I'm sure.
I couldn't possibly comment, as you're one of them.
Cheers. Thanks, and back to you in the studio, Jeff.
Thanks, Nick. Oh, I'm sorry. The noise is down
Yes,
now.
I know. I was having to shout a long way to get to you here over there in America from that pub.
I see. Yeah, that
some
makes
great
sense.
characters, some lovely
yeah.
stories. None of them were true, so
Yeah, wrestling
was-
on the
it
front
was
lawn.
a-
We need to hear more about that.
yeah. Many of these stories that these guys reminded me of, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But there you go. Memory is a wonderful thing. No, there were some lovely people there, and it was good fun. So that was definitely a wonderful event to go to, and hopefully I'll be back again next year, and they'll all still be alive, and we'll have some more fun then. But I tell you what was really nice was catching up with one of the navigators, who I didn't really remember very well. But he singled me out and reminded me that we had flown together when I was pretty experienced on the Phantom, and I'd ended up on the I'd done the QY course, the Weapons Instructors course, and I was about to be posted to Australia. I had a gap of a few months, and I worked for the the Operational Conversion Unit, flying and training navigators. And he said, I was on a course then, as an ab initio navigator, learning to fly the Phantom, and he said I was about to be chopped off the course because I was really struggling to do a particular type of attack, a pulse Doppler search, stern conversion. And it is difficult because pulse Dopplers are a funny radar mode that is hard to interpret. And he said, I flew a couple of trips with you, and he said all of a sudden it became clear to me what I was trying to achieve. And he said from then on I had absolutely no worries about doing this, and I passed the course. And he said I put that down to flying with you, and I was really touched. All these years later, he still remembers that trip or those trips we did together. And I'm just very sorry to say, Herbie, that I had absolutely no recollection of doing that. But I really appreciated meeting up with Herbie again and hearing his story, and to know that I might have had some small effect on his Air Force career. That was fantastic, and I really enjoyed that. But that was it. That's been my week. More eventful than most. And hopefully next week with the talk and other things, I'll have a bit more to say then as well.
All right. Yeah, that might be a good idea. I know we haven't covered everybody yet, but since you're in the midst of telling us what's been happening, why don't we talk about the cover art that you lovingly created for our last episode?
Well, we had a lot of material, didn't we? We had
we did.
squirrels with testicles stuck, and we had airplanes flying into masts because of wasp attacks, and they all came together.
Yeah.
In
yeah, and you were so concerned about the wasp, and I can see now why you were concerned, because it looks like it didn't fare very well with that antenna.
Well, yeah, I was a bit more concerned about you and your laptop, whether your nuts would be. Well, you're the only person I can think of. Where you've got your headphones on, and you've got your APG laptop, Jeff, and you've got your thumb up.
Yeah.
Give us a thumbs up. There you go. I can see the likeness now.
Yeah. Okay.
And because you're being admired by the ladies behind because of your sizable nuts.
Well, yes, I've been gathering them for the winter.
Yeah, of course you have. Yes. Yeah, they're nice big acorns.
All right. Now, what's all this writing up here? A ballsy maneuver. What's going on?
Well, there you go. I thought if I put English maneuver, you and your strange language over there wouldn't understand it. So I did it in English, and then I did it in what you politely call English, but isn't English. But there you go. Nice
He's
try.
such a kind person, isn't he?
Very.
Yeah. I'm very thoughtful.
I'm pretty sure it comes from the French word. Maneuver.
Yeah, I don't think it's an
know
English
for
word
sure.
at all. Yeah.
No, so I think we stick to our roots a little more, the root of the word, and you completely pulverized it. I don't know what that is.
Well, you know what? I'm thinking, I don't think this is worth fighting a war over, really.
We streamlined it. Yeah, it was more aerodynamic our way.
Right.
Actually, I've just finished reading the book about Hamilton, and you guys have got a lot to answer for when it comes to dealings with the French. Whoa.
Okay.
I'll say no more. We keep politics out of this show.
We try. Nick Camacho, how have you been, sir?
Good. My life has been mostly overtaken by trying to finish up the AMP stuff, which we've chatted about multiple times in the past. I did pass the final written that was required at the end of last week. And so now am preparing for the practical. So it's just like getting a flying rating. You got to take a written test and then a practical test, which includes an oral and then an oral exam, and then basically a display of your capabilities. So in the case of an AMP, it'll be going into a hangar or a lab with a designated maintenance examiner, and after the oral, then he'll start pointing at things and telling me to do various tasks, whether it's time of magneto or safety wire or turnbuckle, and I have to be prepared to accomplish those tasks in a manner that is acceptable to him.
Okay.
So looking forward to getting that done and getting it all behind me.
Yeah. Paying close attention to the way the style that you use in your wrench work.
Yep.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. The quality I take to twist my wires. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The radius of the twist is very important. As I said, as long as you remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey, you'll be fine. That was the best advice I got before doing mine, and It stuck with me all these years, and believe it or not, I use it every day. Things that are not aviation related. So,
Are you saying in order to pass this test, you have to get your wires twisted?
Yeah, if it's your safety wires, absolutely. Yep.
Well, you don't want to get your safety wires twisted with all the other wires, surely.
No. You got to get your
have to keep
safety
them away
wires
from the
twisted with each other, and then.
Oh, you're going to twist your safety wires into the other safety wires.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Well, maybe it's best we keep the wrenches away from you. I'm not sure.
Fair enough.
That is not an uncommon attitude to have towards some pilots, I admit.
yeah, that's true.
Fair enough.
Some of them can handle wrenches with the best of them, and some of them you're just like, stay in the cockpit. That's
I've had a hernia. I know what a wrench is like.
And you've had some hangovers, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that too. Yes, that's true.
And you know what a wrench is like as well. Any dates set yet for the practical?
No, so I'm still trying to work that out. So the big thing that I did not take into account is I have to go take this in like a lab setting. So there's 3 or 4 designated maintenance examiners in Wichita, and we have a pretty significant AMP school here, WSU Tech, which is where we'll go test. But I didn't think about the fact that with school going on, they can only test on the weekends, or at least the guy that I've made contact with can only test on the weekends. So I was hoping to turn around and get this thing knocked out in the next week or two, but he's already pretty full through the rest of the year. So we're trying to wedge a couple of days in his schedule somewhere where the testing facility at the school is free and he's free, and it's an about 12-hour endeavor, so a day and a half. Yeah.
Geez, are you going to do a D-check on your own or something?
Well, yeah, I know. That's
12
I went into it and said, well, what day do you want to do this? And he said,
days.
Well, let's get one thing sorted out right up front. This is going to take more than one day, so figure out which one you want to do first, and we'll start with that.
I thought a D-check was around 50,000 manned hours.
I'm a pretty efficient worker. Nick.
You must be.
You underestimate me.
Remember that wrench work is a master.
Oh, golly, yes, yeah. Many hands make wrench work.
Yeah, so 4 hours for a general test, 4 hours for an airframe test, and 4 hours for a power plant test. And I think it's looking like I'll do the general and airframe on the first day, and then pick up the power plant whenever it's available.
Cool.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Let us know when it happens, and
keep us apprised.
I'll phone the FAA myself and make sure they look after you.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I'll try to make it quick. Sang a lot.
I want to hear from Brent.
Well, we're going to get to Brent here in a second, because it's going to take a long time, because this is the first time he's been on the show, so he's got to tell us.
That's true. Yeah, he's
pretty much his whole life.
50
in the beginning.
Years of catch up.
Did some singing over the weekend, as I normally do, and out Monday morning for this trip that we were on. And let's see, we overnight. It was a long day yesterday, for us anyway. Went to Dayton, Ohio, and back, and then ended up in Des Moines, Iowa. Yeah, about what did you say? About 1 o'clock in the morning when you looked out the window, it was already snowing, and snowed continuously, including the entire time that we were. I actually went out there and pre-flighted an airplane in snow. It was cold too and windy. Yeah, that's the kind of guy I am.
I always said I would question the judgment of the captain that would pre-flight, that they would do a walk around in that kind of weather.
I know. I was out there when I was out there in the middle of it. I was questioning my judgment as well. But then, I end up flying with you a lot, so, there you go. Where is my judgment? I don't know.
It was just making sure the prop straps weren't on, so...
I was pretty sure I didn't miss any of those. Anyway, so we did that. We're on track for like an on-time departure, and I think we pushed back on time. And
5 minutes early.
Yeah, a little bit early maybe. And we were pushing back, and we're on the backside of this terminal, and they got all these taxiway closures. And the only way that you can get around the other side of the terminal, which is where, for whatever reason, because they have a de-ice pad on the other side of the runway, like 3 different positions where it seems like it'd be a really good place to de-ice, since it's called the de-ice pad. But apparently the company that we use for this, they don't like to drive over that way, I guess. And so they want to do it on the other side of the terminal or the concourse. And so we're going to start up. We're going to make it around the other side of the terminal, do our de-icing procedure, get out of here, and get to Atlanta. We're probably still going to be early. And they were ready for us over there on the other side of the concourse, as far as we know. We couldn't see it because we were stuck on the side that we started, because right when we were about to start our engines, we noticed there's an ATR that's pushed back, and we haven't heard anything on it. We're required to call for clearance for pushback, and we received it. Never heard a thing from this airplane. They didn't call anybody. They pushed back. All of a sudden, we see a de-ice truck go right up to it, and we're going. So we got on ground control and said, "Is there any way for us to? Are we going to have to wait for them to de-ice to get around?" Yeah, there's no, all the taxiway closures. You're just going to have to wait for them to finish. So, had to make a bunch of PAs. Well, folks, towers ground controls trying to communicate with them. They're not talking to anybody. They didn't receive clearance to push back or de-ice or anything. And then finally, they finished the de-ice procedure, both Type 1, which is de-icing, and then anti-icing, the Type 4 protective layer. And then they didn't do anything. We kept waiting for them to make themselves, cargo. Well, actually, they were. It was a passenger flight, I believe, because it was out of the. Yeah, and so we wait, and I asked ground control. I said, "Are you communicating with them?" No. Okay. Is there any other way for us to get? Nope. Got to wait for them. I don't know how. I mean, it seemed like forever. There was nothing. We kept waiting to see the propeller start spinning. Nothing. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe eating breakfast.
You forgot the keys. That's clearly what happened.
That could be. It could be what happened. Anyway, so they finally got the thing started, and then all of a sudden, hey, ground, we just pushed off of. No, you didn't just push. That was like 20, 30 minutes ago. And I was kind of getting irritated, thinking, you need to be aware of what's going on and the fact that you're blocking people and get clearance to do things. That's kind of the way this works in this airline world. Anyway, so we finally got to our position, and I don't know, there were probably some other issues involved, but it took forever for them to. I think this was probably the first de-icing that they had to do at this airport for our flight. It was about an hour total, hour late.
About an hour and a half.
An hour and a half by the time, and so we were actually arriving about an hour past our scheduled arrival time.
Didn't anybody read this aircraft there riot act? I mean, didn't ground ever go at them, or at least the tower?
No, I was kind of expecting that. Our pushback driver said, "Yeah, we're going to have to talk to the airport about that."
Yeah, just when you need a JFK controller, there's not one there.
I know. We really could have used one of those guys.
Absolutely.
It not only affected us, but then we ended up going and blocking other people. So, they held people pushing back because they knew that we needed to get back around over how many different flights do you think that affected? I don't know, 5 or 6?
Yeah, at least probably.
Yeah, it was a mess. And I did say, I kind of bit my tongue until at some point I just kind of said, you guys need to listen to the radios. And that's all I said. I don't think they probably even heard me say it.
They didn't hear you because they weren't listening to
Yeah,
the
they probably didn't hear me.
Nice one, Brent. Quite right.
It takes a lot to get me upset. Brent knows this. I don't really get upset easily. And I was kind of like, oh, come on. This is ridiculous. But, okay. Anyway.
The fuse was kind of short this morning, wasn't it, Jim?
Yeah. Anyway. So we finally got back on track. We had a built-in turnaround time in Atlanta that worked out pretty well. So we were able to get to our next jet, on time and out of there on time, and we arrived here a few minutes early. So all's well. But that was our de-icing experience at Des Moines.
I love it.
It's such fun, isn't it?
Just wait till we see the snow here in Jackson in the morning. And try to de-ice.
What? Is it supposed to snow here too? This is not our first de-ice. We were just talking about this morning. I think we actually had to de-ice in Chattanooga like last month for some reason. I think it was just like a little bit of dew, like frost on there, just a tiniest little layer. But the clean airplane, program. So we had to do it. Anyway, and then Brent. So what have you been up to lately? Yeah.
How far back do you want me to go?
Well, let's skip your childhood.
Fast forward.
Yeah. So let's say Brent and I, we used to fly a lot on the Mad Dog, and he actually flew more years on it than I did. I think you said 19 years.
Yeah, 19 and a half.
Oh wow. You started in Dallas. You were living in the Dallas, or you're commuting to Dallas.
Commuting to Dallas, right. After 9/11, came to Atlanta. And when did you get on it?
I got on the 2002.
2002.
Yeah, because I was on the 727 during 9/11, and then that's when I got displaced in the spring of the next year.
It seems like around 2004, 2005, we probably first flew together.
Yeah.
And off and on quite a bit.
Yeah.
Definitely the most flown with captain that I have flown with.
And it's the most flown captain I've ever flown with, too.
You are?
Yeah.
Yourself?
Flying with myself.
Favorite captain.
Yeah, it's, what's really nice flying with Brent is that it's just like we're all not exactly, like an old married couple, because, we fly with each other all the time. We kind of finish each other's sentences sort of in an aviation procedural way. So he knows what to expect from me, which is not much. And I know what I can expect from him, which is most of everything. And it works out well for me. And we have a good time, and there are no big surprises. I haul boxes say, I must say that after years of watching this show, it would finally instill some trust in me, seeing these two guys sitting together in the cockpit when entering an Acme aircraft. Oh, well, thank you.
Excellent.
That's
now,
very nice
I've
to
just
say.
got a question. Considering Brent does all the work, who gets paid the most?
Well, he flies a lot and picks up a lot of overtime flying, so I don't know. That might be debatable. But probably.
That has slowed down significantly.
Probably me. This guy's a master of scheduling and picking up things and dropping things, and it's pretty amazing. I've learned a lot from Brent regarding that. And so he's pretty senior, number 3, I guess, on your seat, right?
Number 3.
And I'm number 1, so that's why we end up flying a lot together, and we like flying the same types of trips, and works out well. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
I don't know when my retirement flight's going to be, Liz. It may I might be on vacation for my retirement flight.
Well, it's supposed to be a mini vacation. You realize that,
Yeah.
You grab the company credit card and have a splurge.
I don't know. Have you ever seen a company credit card?
I have not seen.
I've
heard a lot about
What,
it.
you don't?
We've seen it.
You guys got to join the long haul outfit.
Yeah, maybe the long haul guys have credit cards. I don't know.
Yeah, that Des Moines flight was the long haul
Fancy
for us.
limos.
Yeah, I mean, that's how bad it is for us. It's like we look at the schedule and go, oh my God, we have to fly from Atlanta to Des Moines. The flying time is what? 1 hour and 45 minutes. Oh, man, how are we going to do that? I don't know.
Knock us out right now.
Have the flight attendants check on us several times. Yes, it is great having Brent on the show, and I talk about him all the time, and I'm glad that he's probably going, I never want to do this again. This is like, I see him looking at his watch a lot. Man,
It's like too much like hard work.
Yeah. Okay, coffee fun. Thanks, Brent.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Anything
for
else to
having
add or subtract?
No, we haven't eaten any barbecue in the last few weeks.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We've been missing out. Oh, yeah.
So
don't
the
tell- don't tell them
constipation
about-
stopped now then.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can hit the old coffee fund. And I know that Brent has a great voice, but he doesn't know how this goes. So
Johnny, how much more coffee?
he gets a reprieve. I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, coffee fun. I get to. This is really why I do the show every week, Brent. I get to sing the coffee fund, coffee bar, coffee cadre. What do we call it? The Java Jive, APG coffee. I don't know what the heck we call it. Anyway, I'm running out of time now. Okay. Couple of different ways to support the show financially via the Coffee Fund. One is the Coffee Fund Classic method, which is usually used for people who want to make a one-time or every once in a while donation to our show. And Mazuz Karim, again, comes in with a very nice, generous contribution. Thank you, Mazuz. And I believe we had somebody also give us a very, very nice contribution to the OG Coffee Fund Classic, but didn't have time to include you. So you'll be on the next show, you fine Coffee Fund cadre person, you. Another way to do it is to become a patron of the show via Patreon. No new patrons this week, but we had a bunch of new ones from our last show, so thank you very much. If you want to learn more about how you can join the Coffee Fund cadre, please head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. We will too.
Captain, incoming message.
Yeah, we have some missing in action.
Light on the crew side.
We are live on the crew side.
On that note, Jeff, I think I'm going to have to bail out here.
Okay.
Unless
yeah,
you have,
thanks for
unless
joining
you have
us for as long
one
as
or two feedbacks you want me to do, but I looked through them and I don't think I have any relevant.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you need to be go
necessarily.
do stuff with your family, man. All right.
All right.
Pulling the chute on your Cirrus, Liz is saying.
Yeah.
Cap system engaged.
Yeah. It's good to see you, Brent.
Good to see you,
it's
Nick. Good luck with your
the big red button that
AP
says in
endeavors.
broadcast, right? Just kicks me out.
No. You know that that's not the way you do it. Stop it.
Are you sure that's not the way you do it?
Well, yes, we are sure. Please, that's going to make so much extra work for me. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't let him do it.
We'll see you guys later.
All right, Nick. Good to see you.
All the best, Nick.
All right.
And then there were three. What happened to Rick?
Yeah, he's
just gone for a wander. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Liz is giving me direction in the control room. Looks like sorry, I'm bumping your headset cord. Sorry, Brent. Liz is saying let's probably start off with 3, which I think is the first one.
Yeah, that is the first.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that. Do you need to take a physiological break at all?
I'm okay for that now.
Okay, yeah, me too, but we might have to do that soon. Okay.
Well, if you guys can do an hour 45 on one flight without having to go to the loo, that's pretty good.
It was tough. I came running out of the cockpit to go to the bathroom. Both of us did, but we took turns. Okay. Okay, we're going to jump to number 15, and we have some. All right, so let me pretend that I'm just doing it off the bumper. All right, we're going to start with number 15. Feedback from. Oops, this is not right. You want Radio Roger. Okay, number 16, I think, is the one we want to start with. Okay. Let's start with this audio feedback from Radio Roger. He says, "Hi, Liz. I've attached feedback on a subject I've been meaning to address for a long time, since I've done a lot of research on it. Also, I've attached a photo and included a link to things I reference. My only request is that you play it when Nick is present, since he talked about this and seems pretty familiar with the subject. Thanks. Radio." No. Roger. That was Radio Roger, and just became Radio. Do you like your new name?
That's
Roger?
a nice name, actually.
Radio. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and play Radio Roger's audio feedback. Here we go.
Greetings, everybody. I've finally gotten around to offering feedback to a discussion in episode 527 about people flying jetpacks near LAX. I've been fascinated by these flying packs and seeing a demonstration in my youth. Nick talked about these devices being used in a James Bond movie. He did make one small error. The original devices, including the one flown by 007, were rocket packs, not jets. They contained their own oxygen. Built by Bell, and I've attached a photo, it was called the Bell Rocket Belt, not pack. It was elegant in its simplicity. There were 3 tanks. The outer 2 contained highly concentrated hydrogen peroxide, far more potent than what you'd buy in a pharmacy. The center tank contained liquid nitrogen, which did nothing more than push the peroxide out of their tanks into a series of silver meshes which acted as a catalyst, breaking down the hydrogen peroxide into oxygen and superheated steam, which provides the propulsion. Nick was correct in saying that the device couldn't fly more than 30 seconds, limiting its use to demonstration flights. Later, Bell developed a jet belt, which could fly for half an hour. But unlike the rocket belt, which had almost no moving parts, jet engines are filled with turbines, which are subject to failure and would not be survivable for the pilot. I suspect that risk is minimized by newer models, which have multiple engines, providing redundancy. Even so, knowing what an uncontained jet failure can do to a plane's fuselage and wings, I wouldn't want those engines strapped to my body. One final, and I assume safer alternative, several companies have manufactured water rocket packs. I've attached a link to a video of one. They're meant for flying over bodies of water. A hose attaches them to a floating water pump, which trails below the pilot. And the pump sends the water out the nozzles on the pilot's back. It looks a bit like the old Bell rocket belt. I'd love the chance to fly one of those someday. Well, now you know more than you ever wanted to about personal propulsion. I'm Radio Roger, over and out.
He's our personal propulsion man, Radio Roger. I've seen those. We'll have a link to that water jetpack thing video in the show notes. But I've seen those, and it looks like they have like a jet ski motor or something like that on their back. I don't know. Looks pretty intense and a lot of fun.
Yeah, the amount of water pressure they'd need to lift the hose, the guy, and the equipment is incredible. You don't think there must be a very powerful engine on that water ski to pump that amount of water. But that's impressive, and they do fantastic, almost aerobatics with them. Very good. They don't just hover around looking boring. They're really very good. But I just note that the Jet 007 jetpack that Roger talked about with the picture, that used the same principle as the X-15 I talked about a couple of shows ago. Because when the X-15 reached its maximum altitude, it was effectively in outer space and aerodynamic controls didn't work. So they had to have reaction jets, and using hydrogen peroxide and oxygen was the solution that NASA came up with to power these reaction jets, which he's quite correct, effectively produces very high temperature steam, which is a very efficient way of powering them.
Unless it hits your leg. That can be very painful.
Yeah, that's true. Luckily, in the X-15, you're in a cockpit, but these blokes, I noticed that's probably why they've got so much insulation around the actual nozzles, so that you don't accidentally bump into one and end up getting cooked.
But 30 seconds, that doesn't give you a lot of time to do much with those things.
Just enough time to smoke a cigarette, I guess. So
I was going to say, most people only take 15 seconds, so it's actually giving you a lot of spare time there.
Let's. I see now where you guys are going. All right, number 3. We have some feedback that. Okay, yeah, Rick.
Come on, Jeff, we're pilots. You know better.
JJ Pittsburgh sent us some audio feedback, and we played it on our last show. And I was the wrong person to ask. You'll understand why. But we decided, you know what, we need to play this again when Rick is on the show. So here you go. This is from JJ Pittsburgh.
Greetings, APG crew. It's JJ Pittsburgh here. I just stepped out of the gym and I was thinking about it. For all the commercial pilots in the crew, when you're out on the road on trips, what is your normal workout routine if you do have any? I was curious about that because you know me at this point, I do so many road trips that I generally just will hit up the local Planet Fitness because there's locations pretty much everywhere. They're kind of like a Starbucks at this point. They're like on every corner. So, which is great. So any city I'm in, I could hop into the gym and get my, blood flowing. Because once again, I am like sitting in the car a lot on these trips. And it's nice to kind of like, just keep moving whenever I'm in a certain location. So I was curious about that because you guys are cooped up in the cockpit on these trips. Thought you might hit up the gym, and I was curious about that. Or maybe you just hit up the hotel gym. So anyway, I was just thinking about that. Another little tidbit of life for an airline pilot and inquiring minds want to know. So anyway, hope all is doing well. As for me, I'm just plugging along, working on some of my music stuff. I look forward to sharing that with you guys whenever we work it out. Me and my buddy Doug are working on some stuff. So I'm going to have quite a setup coming up, and heck, maybe I'll write a song about Dr. Steph. Who knows? Anyway, peace and love, peace and love.
Peace and love. And what was that, a Cat 15 that we were listening to in the background? I think he may be in some kind of a diesel pusher. Sounds like a huge engine, didn't it? But, Brent's our engine guy.
Quite the compression ratio.
What do you think? What kind of engine was that?
I don't know.
I just thought he had bad indigestion.
No, I think it was an actual motor, an automobile.
That's my stomach growling because I'm so hungry.
Oh, that was you? Because you're so hungry. Oh, okay. I get it. I'll probably have to buy you dinner for being on the show, don't I? Dang it.
At least.
Think this through. Rick, so what's your what do you do? I know
what do I do?
I said I'm the wrong person to ask, and Brent is too. We don't really work out on trips or ever, but I go for walks every now and then. I will.
Walks is
downstairs
good.
to the lobby,
as long as
come back
to the ice machine and back.
Yeah, down the hall and then back. I walk to the stairs and I look at him and I go, "Nah, I'll take the elevator." But Rick, you're kind of our fitness guy, so what do you have to say?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the fitness guy, but I try to. It's the little things. We're joking about the elevator versus taking the stairs, and it's the little things that really count. Try to stay moving. Really, the way I do it is. I try to work out at least 5 times a week. I'll do 3 days on, day off, and then 2 days on, 1 day off, and sometimes I'll do 6 times a week. But I'll give myself at least a day off a week from working out. And when I'm on the road, I tend to. Not quite 3, only 2.5 high boxes. I'm working my way up to 3, 7, 6, 7 bench presses. But anyway, I I tend to use the hotel gym a lot, really, because it's you really don't need a lot, if you just need a bench and some free weights. It's nice to have some resistance bands if you can pack one or two with you. That's what I did during COVID, because all gyms, hotel gyms, and other types of gyms were closed. So I would work out in my room using resistance bands and my own body weight. Really, your own body weight is really all you need. You can do a lot with just your own body weight. From push-ups to upside down push-ups or military presses, where you go up against the wall and you push yourself up off the floor and do several reps of that, and then you got your lunges and your squats and all that stuff using just your own body weight. The idea is to get your heart rate up to a certain point where you burn the calories required to keep you at a certain whatever your weight, your target weight is, and it's simple math. If you burn more than you eat, then you're going to lose weight. If your intake is the same as your output, then you maintain. And if you're not burning as much as you should, then you're obviously going to gain weight. Another thing that I do is, and I've been doing this for a few years now. It's called intermittent fasting. Basically, what that means is that I give myself an eating window. Basically, it's called. So, personally, I give myself 6 hours in a 24-hour period to eat. And the idea behind that is that you are basically forcing your body to go into its fat reserves and to burn that for energy. Keeping your body, your weight down. And also another thing that I do is I never eat before working out. So I'll always make sure that I'll put in a good run and a good gym session before going and eating. Now the reason behind that is I like to drink beer a lot, and I like to eat, and I don't like to have to pick and choose what to eat and what not to eat based on a diet. And so by giving myself that 6 hour window, I can, and as long as I've exercised, I can basically eat whatever I want, obviously in moderation. So that's kind of what I do. Just stay yourself, just stay mobile, stay active, and you don't have to. Just the best thing you can do is really listen to your body. If your body is, if your body's telling you it's telling you that you're tired, then sleep. If it's telling you that you're hungry, eat. If you are doing, some kind of workout and it starts hurting, obviously stop. So it's just common sense stuff, really. And there's a lot of really good resources online as far as, not only pilots, but people that do this, parallel with whatever their career is. And I can, it can provide you better information that I have here. But just keep moving, keep it simple is what I do.
All right. I Haul Boxes is giving some advice about, what your max heart rate or your best heart rate for doing good exercise, or your zone or whatever, aerobic heart rate. Anyway, he says we have to verify it with staff. Your max heart rate is 90% of 200 minus your age. So let's see. For me, it'd be 190, 900. Is it right? Did I do that right? No. Actually, my age is 62, 63. How old am I? 63. That leaves 37. 137. 90% of 137 is what? Quick, Brent, come on. Anyway,
122. I don't know.
Okay, I don't have a calculator. Here, I can do this. Watch.
124.
0.9 times what?
137.
137 equals 123. You're darn close, Brent.
Yeah.
Did I mention how smart he is?
For me, it's saying it's 143.
He's a good guesser.
It's kind of.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I told JJ that I don't really actively do it, but I'd say probably, I don't know, the guys you fly with, Brent, maybe about 50%, maybe not quite 50% of guys kind of on their layover, at least one of the layovers, go out and work out. And it's usually because of the convenience. And as Rick says, most of the stuff that you really need to do a workout is going to be in a hotel gym. There are times when either the hotel doesn't have a gym or it's like not very good at all, and they have some kind of an arrangement with like a local YMCA or Fitness Planet or one of the chains to use. That Planet Fitness too. Thanks, Liz.
Those two, yeah.
Yeah, La Fitness, the French workout place.
La Fitness, yeah.
La Fitness, yeah. Si, oui, oui.
Yeah.
All right.
Do curls with baguettes in that place. It's good stuff.
I do curls with 16-ounce curls with beer cans, the big cans. All right. I know it's supposed to be 12-ounce. I messed that up. Sorry. Okay. Let me move on to which one, Liz? Number 4. Good idea. Oh, you know what I'm going to do, though, first, Liz? I'm going to jump to 12 because we should have played this right after Radio Rogers talking about the subject of rockets as propulsion. This is from Alex. He says, to Captain Nick and others, when reading my feedback, you inquired as to if rocket fuels could be made using renewable resources. And to this, I say, absolutely they can. Sadly, that doesn't really change anything about what I said earlier about rocket engines being grossly inefficient and not working for aircraft propulsion. This is because of a weird truth of the chemistry that chemists really don't like laymen talking about. Chemists can make almost any chemical compound found in nature so long as you have the base elements required to assemble it. Everything from methane gas to jet fuel can be made in a lab. The issue has never been whether or not someone can create oil, gasoline, or rocket fuel. After all, the Nazis did it during World War II. Synthetic motor oils are extremely abundant today, and you can buy them at any gas station. So why aren't we doing that for jet fuel? Again, here, there are many theoretically solvable problems that I could bring up, like the cost and difficulty of efficiency making synthetic fuels at the quantities needed to support an airplane, but we don't really need to look into those because there is a single truly unsolvable problem. My father always said, there's no such thing as a free lunch. No matter how good your chemistry is, you need to get the energy that oil or other fuel stores. Short of committing to a truly massive campaign to build nuclear power stations, more on that later, there really is no energy source available on Earth to get that energy. Yes, this includes biofuels and other trendy things that a lot of airlines are trying to pretend will solve the climate crisis. That doesn't mean we should stop experimenting with biofuels. Heck, there is energy-dense industrial farming waste that can be recycled into fuels relatively cheaply. There just isn't anywhere near enough of it. We need to acknowledge that they won't ever fully plug this hole. Now, why don't chemists want people throwing ideas like totally synthetic fuels around? Well, I theorize it's because it's a really nice talking point for hyper-nationalist agitators to try to give the false impression that a single nation can supply itself without energy resources from the outside. It's just too hard to explain to the layman that there is no such thing as a free lunch when someone like Adolf Hitler is giving daily speeches about total independence. The Nazis did exactly this with coal gasification in order to try to keep the war machine up and running. A very significant chunk of the wartime Nazi economy was consumed just by synthetic fuel production alone, and even they could not produce nearly as much as they needed. Mind you, coal gasification isn't even a renewable fuel, since you are using coal reserves that are already storing massive amounts of energy and you're releasing the carbon to the atmosphere. Even with that, though, the Nazis failed to keep their oil production up during the bombardment of their extremely complex and expensive coal gasification factories. With all this said, there is one way that I truly believe would allow modern human society to build renewable fuels, and that is to upscale our nuclear power generation by something like 20 or to 30 times over. This is actually totally practical given how much uranium and fertile fuel there is on Earth. With that said, I'm not qualified to give a proper estimate on exactly how long or how much that would truly take, and I don't see the current political environment being all that open to having to build 30 times as many nuclear power stations. So for being So sorry for being such a bummer. Keep the blue side up for as long as we can keep it blue. P.S. Captain Nick. Oh, no, I'm not going to read that on air because it tells me not to. Okay. There you go. This is from, again, Alex. And, wow. Okay. Tim Van Ram says, oh, that's my superpower, making methane gas. Oh, wow. We have a national resource in our live audience.
Absolutely fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly seems to know his stuff. We went pretty fast there from creating biofuels to hyper-nationalist agitators. So, I was just musing, as one does, that, aviation fuel is pretty much just a poorly refined oil pump out the ground. I was wondering if there was an alternative that we could more easily use without depleting both the oil reserves and polluting the atmosphere even more. So it's great to hear so much is being done on that subject. So I'm going to retire quietly to the background on this, and and in the safe and secure in the knowledge that there are a lot of experts out there already working in that field, and if they come across a world-changing alternative, I'm sure they'd have let us all know. But I think as the oil reserves run out, we're going to have to admit that if we want to continue with air travel, it's going to be in a very different form, and there'll be a lot less of it, and it will be considerably more expensive. So it'll be, almost like going back to the early days of aviation, where only the rich and powerful and famous and governments can afford to do it.
Yeah. Oh, what does iHaul boxes say here? The Tu-95s flew nuclear powered for a while, I think. Lucky.
Yeah, I think everyone on board eventually
didn't get their hands on one.
was poisoned.
Oh, yeah.
Poisoned to death.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
no
I think
retirement for those folks.
pretty soon discover that the amount of protection that you could get in order to make the aircraft light enough to actually fly was so minimal that it killed everyone, or eventually irradiated the people on board until they suffered premature death. Very sad.
Not good.
I think you guys, the Americans, had a go at it as well. Designed it. I don't think you ever flew it, but the Russians did.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're able to do it with things like submarines, right? I guess they've learned a thing or two over the years.
Yeah, I would say the submarines and nuclear-powered vessels, they don't need to go so fast that they can stay airborne in air. In other words,
that's true.
They could just float along at a moderate speed. Oh, having said that, most nuclear-powered ships and submarines can crack on at a very efficient speed. But in comparison,
25 to 30
to
knots,
an airplane,
right? Something like that.
Yeah, you need an awful lot of power.
But just a fraction of what, an airplane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, thank you, Alex. Number 4. Oh, I think, is Sam Bolog still in the chat room? And if you are, Sam, I'm still waiting for the phonetic pronunciation of your last name. Haven't gotten it yet. And you had the perfect opportunity. I know. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and play his audio feedback, I believe, here. Yeah. And so he's giving us audio feedback, and he had every opportunity to pronounce his name, but he didn't.
Hello, Captain Jeff and crew. This is Sam from Los Angeles. I was listening to a very early episode where you discussed a flight crew being asked to help locate a sinking boat. You commended the crew for the humanity, but felt that at least one self-serving passenger would probably file a lawsuit. I don't think any attorney would take such a case. Or let me rephrase that. I would hope no judge or jury would side with such a moron. Being a volunteer for CAL FIRE and the OES out here, I'm protected by the Good Samaritan's Law. Would the law possibly apply to the crew in that situation? I realize that the law varies state by state, but they were over water at the time. Maybe there's a set of laws for aviation akin to the maritime law. If you've already followed up on this situation or event, I will probably see it in a later episode. Thank you for listening to my first voice feedback, and I appreciate all you guys do. I'm learning quite a bit. Well, time to go out to the garage and spend the remainder of my afternoon replacing the Svetzer valve on my turbo encapsulator. Take care.
So, have you ever heard the turbo encapsulator little thing, the spiel?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll see if I can find that to kind of give that. Yeah, you're going to hear it now. Darn it. Let's see. Let me do a jingle search. Turbo encapsulator. And, don't you guys agree with me that Sam from Los Angeles, I guess that's what we're going to call him now since he's not telling us how to print it. Is it Bolog or Bolog? Come on. Or maybe some other thing. What do you guys think? What do you think, Liz? Bolog? Okay. Here we go. Let's see if this works. Can you hear this?
It is produced by the modial interaction of magnetoreluctance and capacitive diractance. The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panometric fan.
So, I mean, being the guy, the mechanic that you are, you kind of understand exactly what he's talking about, don't you?
Yeah, that made perfect sense.
I knew it.
Now that you explained it to me.
I think he was talking about something that GM was like a transmission that GM came up with or something. I don't know. And then I think they went to town on making things up. That's, I don't know, very entertaining, I think. Of course, I'm easily entertained.
That explains why my front brakes keep locking up.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of mechanical problems with his cars. But he's really a master mechanic, and he does a lot of good helping people in his church, fix their cars and that kind of thing. He's got a full-on auto shop there at your house, don't you? Pretty close to it.
Close enough.
Yeah, too close probably. Yeah, APG discount. Yeah,
certainly.
maybe.
Bring it on over.
There you go. I don't know. I don't trust him to work on my car. No, I'm just kidding. I do. So the Good Samaritan laws. What do you think, Captain Nick? Do you think that the Good Samaritan laws would apply to that situation that he was referring over the captain basically taking the time to aid in recovery and rescue and I don't remember the exact situation, but
neither do I. And it will of course depend upon the situation. But I think any captain that does performs an act that has the potential to save life, and so long as he's not being reckless in his conduct, is going to be protected for sure. I would say because. And when it comes down to it, you sit back and you weigh up the potential good against the potential harm. I don't think there's any guarantee of immunity from prosecution if you do something that is completely wrong. But on the other hand, I think that international law will definitely be in your favor. And if it follows the same profile as maritime law, then that will apply.
All right. Did we figure out if Sam was still with us or not? I guess not. He hasn't. No word. So he dropped off. We lost another one. Another one down. I was going to read the very end of his feedback message. He said, being fairly... Hang on, I got to do something here. Being fairly sure, I contacted the APG syndrome. APG syndrome. It's APG syndrome. It's a real thing, Brent, and it's a terrible thing.
And you're in grave danger, Brent.
Yes. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He'll be okay. Yeah, he's hung out with me so much that he's immune to it. He says, anyway, being fairly sure I contracted the APG syndrome, I went to see my physician. After numerous tests, it was finally confirmed during a colonoscopy. Have a nice day.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Sam.
No, just what we needed to hear.
It's
Yeah, really.
That's
Appreciate that.
unfortunate.
We love you too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this one's going to be tough. This comedian is known. Oh, Sam is here. Okay. Yes, tell us, Sam. How do you pronounce your last name? All right. Let's see.
Bolug.
Balug? Beluga?
Bolog.
Bolog. I'm thinking it's Bolog or Bolog. Like a weblog.
Yeah, I'm thinking Bolog. Yeah.
Yeah, we're waiting, man. This is like a 25-second
Anticipation's
delay.
killing me.
I think the L is silent, so it'll be boog.
Boog. Booge. You know what he's going to do? He's going to go, oh, they're all waiting for me to do something, and I'm not going to do it. I refuse.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Okay, Sam from Los Angeles. I guess he wants us to call him that now. All right, going back over here to this. Okay, so as I was saying, George Carlin, funny guy. He died a few years back, didn't he? Probably some time now. Anyway, this is from Sam. He said, Buenos dias, tripulation. I'm not sure what tripulation means. Sam is going to send us voice feedback with a pronunciation. Thank you, Sam. Okay. This comedy skit by George Carlin was jarred from my memory when a comment was made by a friend who's teaching me Spanish, and I'm helping her with her English. We were discussing airport scenarios when she asked, why is it called a near miss when two aircraft nearly collide? I've always wondered myself and hear it on your show quite often. Can you explain why that is the terminology used? And I think actually Captain Nick made a good point about that in a recent show. What is it you said again about near miss?
Well, I replied to Sam privately by email, and I copied you guys in, so you might have just
maybe that's where
there.
I read it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a World War II terminology, or it might have been slightly before, referring to dropping a bomb that doesn't hit its target. A near miss was defined as a bomb that doesn't strike the target but causes some damage. So it was transferred across probably from ex-military pilots into the civil world who, when they got close and missed someone, they used the same term that they had when they were referring to their bombing success, a near miss.
That sounds believable. That's why I'm very skeptical.
Well, it's in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, as apart from anything else.
Is it? Okay, well,
Yes.
I don't trust them folks either.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm just
No, I would know that Merriam's. Yeah, well, Webster's all right, but Merriam.
Yeah, Merriam. We don't know what we're talking about. Tim Van Rem tells us George Carlin died in 2008. Wow, it's been a while. Anyway, so here's the deal. So those of you who have heard of George Carlin and heard some of his comedy understand that sometimes he's pretty free with colorful language. So I'm going to try to play a little bit of something here, and hopefully please accept my apology if one kind of makes it through. The audio podcast will have it all censored out. And so here we're gonna try it. You think it's all right to try it, crew?
Okay. Yeah, I don't care.
It's not a lot of confidence. Yeah, they're
it's
all
your
going,
show,
yeah,
mate.
it's all you, man.
Yeah, when they come knocking on your door, don't blame me.
Something else we have in common, flying on the airlines and listening to the airlines announcements and trying to pretend to ourselves that the language they're using is really English. Doesn't seem like it to me. Whole thing starts when you get to the gate. First announcement. We would like to begin the boarding process. Extra word, process. Not necessary. Boarding is enough. We'd like to begin the boarding. Simple, tells the story. People add extra words when they want things to sound more important than they really are. Boarding process sounds important. It isn't. It's just a bunch of people getting on an airplane. People like to sound important. Weathermen on television talk about shower activity. Sounds more important than showers. I even heard one guy on CNN talk about a rain event. Swear to God. He said, Louisiana's expecting a rain event. I thought, holy shit, I hope I can get tickets to that.
Oops.
Emergency situation. News people like to say, police have responded to an emergency situation. No, they haven't. They've responded to an emergency. We know it's a situation. Everything is a situation.
All right, there we go. There's a little snippet. We'll have
Very
the whole,
funny, man.
the link to the whole
Yeah, I
thing.
listened to the whole
very,
thing.
very-
It's great.
It was good.
He's a legend.
Boarding process. Just a bunch of people getting on an airplane.
You think about it, our entire industry is just peppered with similar instances.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
All right, Sam. Did you accept and appreciate Nick's explanation for near miss? If not, I'm offended at airlinepilotguide.com. Will be the address you'll want to use. Anyway, he says, "Adios, amigos." Sam from Los Angeles. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Very good idea from the control room. She's directing me to feedback number 10. Mainly because, as you mentioned in your Getting to Know Us segment, Nick, that you're meeting up with Sam Dawson, and he sent us this feedback. APG crew, greetings, and another great episode. Some questions came up about airline crews. Yeah, we are questionable for sure. What we take with us when we go out to overnights and how crews stay active if we go to gyms. On overnights, I'm always sure to take my pilot certificate with me so I can impress the ladies. Why, yes, I really am a pilot. He says, just kidding. When I go out, I normally take my cell phone, a couple of credit cards in case one is not accepted, an ATM card, my credit card size passport. Oh, I didn't know they had credit card size
What's one of those?
passports. I don't know. Never seen one.
Oh, the passport card. It's it's I got one of those, but that's it's only good for travel by land from here to Mexico and Canada, and some sea travel, I believe, but not for air travel.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So he takes a couple of credit cards, a cell phone, credit card size passport as an ID, some local cash, and my room key, but nothing saying what hotel or room number. Yeah, well, that's fine and dandy until you get out there and then you forget what hotel you're staying in. Anyway, I'm not saying that I've done that, but let's see. I enter my room number into my phone's calculator as a reminder.
I do the same
interesting.
thing.
Okay.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, maybe I should start doing
I took
that.
a picture of the door. That's why I leave.
That's another good idea. That's another good idea. I can't tell you how many times I've done that and gone back to the hotel, and I think I'm on the 5th floor. I'll just walk on the 5th floor and walk. I'll look at the room, the hotel room doors, because I'm sure that it's just going to pop out and go, oh yeah, that's it. Like they look all they're exactly the same. Anyway, let's see. If I forget the hotel, it's on my phone with my pairing. Oh, okay, there you go. That's how he mitigates that threat. My full-size passport and wallet with my other IDs go into the hotel safe. Of course, I need to make sure I grab the correct currency. One time, I purchased a round in London, and when I gave the bartender a 20-pound note, he asked, "What are you trying to pull, mate? This isn't 20 pounds." I was befuddled, took the note back, looked at it. It was a $20 Hong Kong note. I guess that's a lot less. I don't know.
Yes,
is it?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's about a tenth of the value.
Oh, oops. As for how to stay active, I do like going to the gym and running when I'm home, but on the road there's so much to see and do and so many beers to sample that I don't like wasting time in a hotel. On an international trip, I will normally take a short nap, then put on some hiking shoes. I've hiked Victoria Peak and Dragon's Back in Hong Kong. I've taken a ferry to the Princess Islands off Istanbul, rented a bike and rode to the top to see Aya Yorgi Church. Am I saying that right? Aya Yorgi?
Is that near the Boo Boo Church?
No, like, yeah. I get it. Yogi Bear.
Yeah.
Boo Boo? Did I mention they have a small restaurant where you can get a beer and enjoy the wonderful view of Istanbul Harbor? No, but you just did. I've rented bikes with my crew in Montreal and gotten some exercise while visiting the local breweries with them. Even domestically, I've enjoyed exploring cities and enjoying local beers and food. On the subject of Halloween, I happened to be in London a few days prior this year, and I also noticed young trick-or-treaters going around to establishments collecting candy. I'm fortunate to live on a military base, and Halloween is still a traditional event. Adults make fire pits out in front of their houses, enjoy adult beverages, and hand out candy to the kids running around the neighborhood. It's very important that you don't get those two mixed up. The adults get to sample some of the adult beverage treats as they make the rounds with their kids. The streets are closed to vehicle traffic, and MPs, which are military police, are out, so it's very safe. How many kids? I normally go through about $100 worth of candy.
Good Lord. How
But it's
about
worth
the
it to see
kids?
the kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, don't you leave any for them?
Yeah.
I'm attached.
Well, remember, the
I'm
MPs
atta-
are out too, getting candy, so you gotta, those are bigger kids.
That's true.
They like the
Take a lot of
expensive
pleasing.
candy.
They do.
Keeps you out of jail. Keeps you out of the brig, right? Is that what they call it? I'm attaching a photo of my son from Halloween 2002 that I normally trot out at least once a year to embarrass him. This is from
Very
Newark.
good.
Newark Sam. Okay. You know what?
Very
Actually,
nice.
I think this is really a picture of Sam, and it was only just a couple of months ago. So now, Nick, pilot shortage. You'll know who to look for now.
Absolutely, yes.
When you meet up with him.
I'll recognize him, no problem. He needs to do
very
his
good.
tie up a bit, don't you think? It's a bit scruffy.
Yeah, a
And
little
he's only
casual.
got 3
Maybe-
stripes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's time.
Yeah, just fly without a tie. It's better.
There you go. It's tie's a safety hazard.
No, that looks very sweet. Those are pretty classic American piece of kit, those pull-along trolleys, aren't they?
The radio flyers?
Because we
Absolutely.
don't see them much in the UK or in Europe. But you see, they're pretty ubiquitous to America, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are. I'd see that. Okay. Uh-huh. Well, let me see if I can do something with it. I don't know if I can. Let's see. Can you hear that? That blowing
Little.
noise? Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
Hello, it's Sam Bolog. Bolog. You got it right the first time.
Wow.
There you
Hey,
go.
now that. Thank you, Sam. That's perfect.
done,
Thank
sir.
you for texting it, and we got to play it like we don't. Oh, SpeakPipe. Oh, I see. He sent it via SpeakPipe, which is one way you, dear listener, can send us audio feedback by going to our website, contact us. There's a SpeakPipe link. Thank you, Sam, for doing that. And then our producer, director, assistant did all that work in the background while we were yakking, and she uploaded it to the text messaging system that we have. It's a pretty complicated system, and we got to play it. I'm like, what are you laughing about, Liz? Okay, what do you want me to do next, Liz? Yeah. Okay, your 12, R13. Feedback from Greg, and we just talked about Halloween. He says, during the Getting to Know Us segment of episode 543, 2 shows ago, you all were talking about trick-or-treating in parking lots and the like, instead of going door to door, and wondering when that trend started. As best I can recall, a lot of that started right after the 9/11 attacks back in 2001. I can remember our local malls having trick-or-treating inside the mall, and a lot of churches and schools began doing trunk-or-treat events as a way to control who was handing out candy to the kids. Greg. And that's our big-ass crane fan, Greg. Yeah,
absolutely.
He used to work for Big Ass Fans, which is the real name. I'm not swearing. Well, I guess I am sort of. Do you do a trunk or treat at your church, Brent?
No,
no,
we haven't.
No, you don't. Do they do it in your auto shop? We have all those cars, like on cinder blocks in front of your house.
See, I live up in the woods on top of a hill. Nobody's brave enough to come up there.
Yeah, that dude, man. Don't go up there. He's got a shotgun and a still. Exactly.
I'll never tell.
I think
don't drink.
I think not. He doesn't drink at all, so I doubt it. But you don't have to drink to have a still. And make
I was
going
to say you don't have a still to drink for yourself. You just sell it to other people.
The Hawaii one. 14. Oh, no, it's 15, actually. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is kind of timely. So the last Plaintail was the Sailing to Hawaii. Was that the name of it, Nick?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, Robert sent us in this feedback. He says, let's see. A Cessna 172 just flew 18 hours nonstop from California to Hawaii. I feel like the analogy here is like driving your riding lawnmower on your next long-distance road trip. Okay. And this is from avgeekery.com. Yeah. Robert Tucker in Atlanta. No, I'm sorry. I keep doing that. Robert, who used to live near the Big Chicken in Mayetta, now lives in Tucker, where I was married back in 1982. A Cessna 172, I just read that. There are faster ways to get to Hawaii, but it must have been an incredible adventure in a Cessna. And again, this is from avgeekery.com. Imagine, if you will, the following scenario. You're on an 18-hour flight. Your seat doesn't recline. There's no in-flight entertainment. There is no in-flight service. The cabin is not pressurized. You can't go to the bathroom because there isn't one. And you're the only passenger. Oh, and you're the pilot too. For Tom Lopes, this scenario played out in a very real way on Saturday. Lopes completed the 2,521-mile journey when he ferried a brand new Cessna 172 G1000 NXI Skyhawk, registration November 490 November Whiskey, from Merced Regional Airport in Merced, California. That used to be a big SAC base.
Atwater, yes.
Headquarters of SAC?
No.
Yeah.
Castle
Air Force Base, yes.
Atwater, yeah, right above Merced.
Okay, very close to Merced, California. Okay. Flew that thing from there to Daniel K. Inouye International Airport in Honolulu, HNL, at a filed altitude of 6,000 feet and an average speed of 139 miles per hour. The flight was completed in 18 hours and 5 minutes. Lopes departed MCE at 6:10, arrived Honolulu at 21:15, both times local. The plane was delivered to a flight school in Honolulu. George's Aviation, a flight school located in Honolulu. In fact, less than 24 hours after the aircraft landed in Hawaii, it was already in the air providing flight training to students, according to George's Aviation CEO, George Hanzawa. It took just 2 hours to remove the modified fuel tanks and install the seats for use. Hanzawa says the Cessna departed Merced with just over 200 gallons of fuel. Upon arrival in Honolulu, it had approximately 25 gallons left. Lopes communicated with a temporary high-frequency system installed on the aircraft. Additionally, FlightAware showed the Cessna flying at an altitude of 10,000 feet at times throughout the journey. In a Facebook post created by Hanzawa, I'd like to call him George, he said that he has arranged ferry flights from the mainland before. However, for some reason, this particular flight garnered an unusual amount of attention. And let's see, from his Facebook account, upon arrival in Honolulu, Lopes was given a traditional Hawaiian welcome with the adorning of a lei around the Cessna's propeller hub and another around Tom's neck. He says, "Yes, I've got to go to the restroom." The first words spoken by Lopes as he exited the aircraft, "Oh, that was it. Yes, I've got to go to the restroom. I would like to thank He had an empty bottle or two just in case, nature called. But maybe that's just me. I definitely would have had something to pee in if I were doing it. Anyway, in any case, flying solo halfway across the Pacific Ocean in a Cessna 172 is a remarkable accomplishment. Hopefully Tom was able to say aloha to a nice, comfortable bed and get some well-deserved rest on Saturday night. And then there's a video also included in the story, which, again, we'll have a link to in the show notes. It's not a bucket list thing for me, is it for you?
No.
No.
Especially knowing that 1 hour and 45 minute flights in the 717 are pretty much pushing it for us.
Oh, too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Did well with the fuel planning, Liz says. Okay. Well, you know what?
I seem to remember from that tale that a 3 1/4 degree accuracy or inaccuracy, and he'd have missed entirely.
Yeah.
Hopefully he had GPS though to help.
Yeah, G1000 is
find the place.
Pretty good system to have on a little airplane.
Yeah.
Right. You probably have experience with that, Rick. G1000.
No, G1000s. No.
No.
I've never flown a G1000. I mean, when I used to fly light aircraft, it was just old school 6-pack stuff, and then I think that the techiest I ever got was a Garmin 430. But I'm talking, over 20 years ago.
Oh,
so it's been a little while.
Okay. Thought you had more recent experience.
No.
Okay. Well, I need dinner too. Yeah. I know. Clearly. Okay. All right. Last one. We're going to play this from Adam. Hang on. Picked the wrong one here. There we go. Yep. I got it. There was just something added to the bottom there that I just went for.
Oh, this is going to send me to sleep. Carry on.
Well, yeah. Do you want to go ahead and say goodbye now, Nick?
No. I'll linger longer.
Okay. Here we go. This is from Adam Spink.
Hi everybody, Adam here, usually from the UK, but this morning I'm talking to you from a hotel room in Luxembourg, where I'm situated for this week, meeting up with my ATC colleagues from around Europe at a ground radar system workshop. So it'll be good to catch up with all of my colleagues who I've not seen for a few years due to COVID and the travel restrictions, etc. We've done a few online meetings, but it would be good to see everybody face to face for the first time in a few years and catch up with what everybody's been doing. Anyway, just like to provide some feedback on Pilot Pip's own feedback about QNH, RMP, LPV, Barra VNAV, SBAS, EGNOS, WAS, etc. and all the other acronyms. Unfortunately, I have to say I agree with him. There is a significant difference in LPV and APV Barra VNAV. But from my side of the coin, it's an interesting question because most commercial airliners aren't equipped for SBAS, as Captain Jeff said, and I'm sure Nick would agree if he can remember that far back to when he was still flying. Certainly in the commercial airliner world, SBAS receivers and avionics are very much tied into GBAS as well, in terms of one doesn't depend on the other, but the multi-mode receivers that the aircraft can be fitted with for GBAS come with SBAS and vice versa. It's you get one and you can do both. Therefore, equipment levels, equipage is very low generally. It's increasing slowly. I think we're probably up to about 15 to 20% of the aircraft that we see in London are GBAS equipped, and I think you could probably safely assume if an aircraft's GBAS equipped, it will be SBAS equipped. The issue that airlines have is that they generally fly to airports that have a precision ILS capability, so there isn't really the business case there to invest in retrofitting their aircraft. I know there's a retrofit program available for the 777, and I think SBAS, I believe, comes as standard on the 78, but it's an option on the A350 and A330 Neos. So equipment level across the commercial airline sector is not very high. Commercial airports won't generally just put an LPV approach in unless they know the aircraft are going to be equipped to fly it. But the airlines won't pay to equip the aircraft unless the airports put the approaches in so that they can fly them. So it is a bit of a catch-22 situation. The business jet general aviation community, it's slightly different in that they often will arrive into airports that might not have ILS systems at all, or might have Cat 1 or maybe Cat 2 only ILS, or possibly even uncategorized ILS systems due to either terrain or other considerations. So having an LPV approach into those types of runways is key. And I know the French ANSP, who effectively runs all the ATC at all airports in France, has declared an intention to effectively replace non-Cat 3 ILS systems or non-Cat 2, Cat 3 ILS systems, so Cat 1 or uncategorized, at all the airports with GNSS approaches, so that would be LPV generally, just purely because of the maintenance cost of those ILS systems, which they're not accepting large airliners in a lot of the time. That's not their target market, so they can do so. But any airport that has a Cat 3 ILS system, let's say, generally at the moment there's no commercial need or imperative to provide an LPV approach, because the most 80% of the airliners that they see will not have GBAS or SBAS systems to take advantage of those approaches. So it's a bit of a catch-22. The airports won't invest unless the aircraft are equipped, and the aircraft operators won't invest in equipping the aircraft unless the airports have the approaches to use. So that's one of the problems we have to try and address. Anyway, hope everybody on the podcast there is well. I'll try and give Pip a poke, so to speak. That's what she said, to put out a new episode in the next, let's see, just looking at my watch here, maybe next 2 years. Hopefully that'll work out. Anyway, hope everybody's well, and see you all soon. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Adam, for taking the time. So, and about giving Pip a poke, well, that's your thing, maybe. It's kind of.
Yeah, sure.
We don't judge, man.
By the way, I found that absolutely fascinating.
So, I'd like to know something. This whole thing's about the RNAV thing started when we talked about that accident where they were doing a non-precision RNAV approach, not an LPV precision with SBAS and all these different things. It was just a completely, run-of-the-mill, non-precision, and because they set the wrong, the barometric altitude wrong, and then we said, just like, say, like an ILS localizer out of service, or a VOR approach, or an NDB approach, same darn thing could happen, right? And I guess somebody has the idea that I was trying to say that RNAV approaches in general are crap. And that was not my intention. I'm sure that the LNAV, the LNAV, VNAV, and LNP, is that what was it called now? I can't remember the RMP. No,
the LVP.
The LVP. Yeah. I'm sure it's fantastic. And you know what?
Localizer
if I had it available, I'm sure that I would love it too. In fact, I might even marry it. I don't know. So. Yeah, I just want to make sure people don't get the idea that I wasn't trashing that. We were trying to kind of talk about that, the non-precision approaches that kind of rely upon you correctly setting the barometric altitude. I think that's somehow we just went wrong. And you know what? It's not you, it's me. And I'm sorry, and I'll try harder next time, honey.
But I see what he says, where a lot of the applications really aren't there for commercial airliners and the top airports that commercial airliners operate in and out of, because it's just not necessary. You have
they don't want to spend the money if they don't have to.
Exactly, and then you don't want to have to put that equipment on the aircraft if wherever it is that you're going doesn't have that equipment installed either. So I don't know. I just like, for me personally, I'm very comfortable with a Cat 3 ILS, and when conditions are such that that is the only way to get on the ground, then as long as things are working fine and all the procedures are followed to the T and the critical areas are protected and everything else, it works like a charm. And interestingly enough, in my 20-something years of flying airliners, I've only done maybe 3 autolands, so it doesn't really happen very often. At least to me, it hasn't. Maybe Nick, you're based out of London, and it happens a lot. Tends to happen a lot more there.
More than 3, but less than 20. So not a huge number. No.
Yeah. So
one
first
a year,
one,
if that.
Yeah, first one for me was down in Santiago, down in Chile. That it gets socked in down there. So there, and then I had another one in where the hell was it? I forget where it was. And the last one was last year going into Ontario, California. You get that really thick fog in there, and but yeah, Cat 3 ILS is like Autoland works like a charm.
Yeah, I still used to put my fingers in my ears and close my eyes though.
Yeah,
it's
easier to go through it that way.
Yeah, less trauma for me.
Yeah, and if there's having your fingers in your ears helps if there's a big explosion.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you don't get deafened. Yes.
Exactly. You got to take care of those eardrums.
But you're absolutely right. Autoland to like a real no kidding Cat 3 Autoland. Doesn't happen a heck of a lot in one's career.
No, it's
I've
very
done a few
impressive,
of them,
though, I have to say.
It is
very impressive.
It is. And I completely get what you're saying there with the having the right facilities, and it's a lot less expensive and blah blah blah. But he also made the point that why do it if you're operating into these places that have already made the capital investment on this very very precise electronic beam system, the ILS system.
And the airline's not going to pay for equipment it's not going to regularly use. It's not interested in going through that expense.
Yeah, and train its
Well,
pilots.
IHAL
And there's
boxes.
currency requirements, and all.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole other set of issues
Right.
that you have to keep in mind.
Definitely.
IHAL Boxes is telling us that LPV, localizer performance, vertical guidance, and LVP, low visibility procedures, pick one carefully. Okay. Well, there are just too many letters, and I get easily confused. Yeah.
Hang on a minute. There's
All
only
right.
26 letters. It's not very many.
Yeah, I wonder
but
how
then you
George
have
Carlin
all the
would feel
different
about this one.
combinations. Well, he probably has something to say about that. But all I can say about RNAV, Brent knows how I feel about on our airplane.
And we'll say no more.
Yeah, we share the same feeling about it because we only do the less accurate, just LNAV only type very non-precision approaches in that thing. And in fact, it's so bad. Well, it's not good enough to perform RNAV PRM approaches in Atlanta. We specifically get bulletins all the time. Guys, you cannot do that approach in Atlanta. Actually, you can't do that approach at all because it requires precision. And we just don't have it.
Is that an indictment on your flying skills?
No, it's an indictment on the autoflight system of our aircraft. Or the
You don't use
navigation
autopilots, I know, Jeff.
Yeah, we do every once in a while. All right, Liz, what are you saying to me? Oh, one last thing. Okay, we're going to 14. And this is
She's
from
cracking
Tim
the
Qualls.
whip tonight. It's nearly bloody midnight, Liz.
Yeah, this is it. Nick, you're almost off the hook. I'm sorry, what was this from somebody not Tim Qualls? Tim Q? Oh, Tim Q. Okay. Yeah, but is that not Tim Qualls? Is that another Tim? Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were correcting me. Okay. He says, just a funny. No big news, not really even feedback, but I saw this on my Carrot Weather app today. Wanted to share with the crew. Now we know what those contrails really are. And his little image graphic says, jet fart clouds are sometimes called contrails by elitist scientists. So that's what those things are out there.
Yes.
That's right.
Indeed.
And chemtrails
Jet
by
farts.
complete idiots.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. See you, Liz. All right, she's going to join us in the big picture, and we are going to talk about wrapping up the show. We're going to wrap up the show right now. We're going to talk about going over to the website airlinepilotguy.com, where we have all kinds of good stuff about the crew and the community calendar, the APG library, more info about the plane tales, merchandise, and gosh darn it, so much more. Please go over there to airlinepilotguy.com, check it out. And we are also on social media, and I'm going to let Captain Nick and Miami Rick tag team it.
Okay, Facebook
Come on, Nick.
Or Faceplant. Airline Pilot Guy is where you want to go, and you'll enjoy seeing us all there. Actually, you won't. You'll just be seeing me and Liz. It's really boring.
Okay.
And for the other fine platform now, Twitter at APG Crew. Everything APG related is on that address there, that handle. And Instagram is APG Crew as well. That thing, you know the thing. Instagram.
Yeah, put the thing on
I
the
thought
thing.
it was Meta nowadays anyway, not Twitter.
I think it
Or
is
that
Meta.
something
isn't it?
else?
Yeah. I think
No.
Meta owns Instagram and Facebook. Is that
Meta
what it is?
owns Facebook and no, that's something different. I don't know. Meta, help somebody, help us out.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
Instagram I think is owned by Facebook.
Which is owned by Meta.
I thought Elon had bought Twitter as well.
Yeah, he
No,
bought there.
Twitter's separate from Instagram and Meta and all that other stuff.
That's got a great.
Can we do this over?
The grasp of this. This
Steph,
technological
hello.
environment there, Jeff.
Maybe Liz, why don't you pop in and tell us? You straighten us out. Do you know?
Okay, I believe Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, but they're totally separate from Twitter, I believe.
Okay, so what's Twitter called now that Elon's bought it?
Well, it's still Twitter, but anyway, who knows? Let's not
Okay.
get into that. Okay,
All
who's
right.
that? Where is
What?
Hillel? He's in
Hillel?
Bermuda, but
I don't know. Let's see where he is. Let me turn on the microphone.
He's had to rush back from wherever he was.
he's in Bermuda.
Hillel! Hillel! Can you tell us
Bermuda?
about Slack?
No, she came of her own accord.
That's okay. Come on over, Brent. You're going to have to move out of the way. Hillel's going to have to come on in here. Be careful. He's got wet everything. He's got, I don't know. All right. I'm just kidding, Brent. You really don't have to go. That's an imaginary Hillel. Okay. Tell us about Slack, Hillel.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo at airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right. Thanks, Hillel. Appreciate it.
Sorry, Jeff, I might have used all your skin lotion.
That's okay. We can get more. All right. As always, we appreciate all the hard work Hillel does with the Slack team. And we also appreciate all the hard work. Well, not hard work, but
No,
just
not
these fine folks showing up each and every week in our live chat, our live audience. Thank you so much for helping us out and helping entertain us. And, of course, Liz thought I was going to talk about her, but I'm going to do that right now. Without her help, man, this show would be so much better. Thank you, Liz. I mean, it wouldn't be what it is.
You speak the truth.
You know, I
Yes,
joke, I
indeed.
kid. She's awesome. She does so much of the work in the background. So thank you so much for that. I love you. I love all of you out there, and wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
See you next time. Be good to everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye.
Will you unmute there, Rick? I think Rick's having a bit of rubber band
connection issues.
He's pressing buttons like he's going out of fashion. He must be in a Boeing.
He looks like he's surfing.
Oh, he's got his first officer with him and everything.
Yeah, I do.
Hello, Lucy.
My trusty first
Oh, you're
officer,
gorgeous.
Lucille. Hi, Lucille. Hi, Lucy.
Oh, there's Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Girl.
You see what Brent did, didn't you? He took over the camera.
I know.
That's very clever.
Wow.
I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
He's like,
I know how he did
Lucy.
it.
Look at
You know how he
Lucy.
did? This thing has an AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to.
All right.
Okay. All right. Quickly, titles, possible titles. I've only got a couple of ideas here, so chat room, if you got other stuff. Rubber band ejector. I don't know what you want to do. Or the Acme ejection system.
Yep.
Okay.
I've got that. I think that's very good. That one will probably
nice.
work.
I like that one.
You're happy with that? Yeah. Mike Kuipers has celebrity gunshots.
Thanks, Mike.
Celebrity.
Having fun with my
instead
little
of
mistake.
Celebratory.
Yeah, I know. I messed it up.
And then we had in the news we had 2 penetration events.
Oh, wow.
Do that. That what you may.
Okay. Yeah.
Trouble is keeping it clean.
I know.
Yeah, let's keep that one away from Captain Nick.
I know, and then Tim Van Ram's going in a bad direction there too.
Don't give me any ideas.
Snap onto strap on. Oh no. Oh no. People.
Have you got enough to work with there, Nick?
I've got more than enough. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, we're going to end the broadcast because Jeff and Brand are going to pass out from hunger.
Poor
Thanks,
people.
Brand, for
All right,
being
I'm
here.
going to pass out through fatigue. See you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.